Greetings! You're watching SeptumSin versus the world. I'm SeptumSin, and here we are with another anime Anticlimax. Today we are doing a series that is near and dear to my heart, and to I'm sure many in the anime community. Ranma One Half from mangaka Rumiko Takahashi, a quite well-known author actually in these fields. And this one definitely, like I say, is a special one for me. But we're also going to talk with the rest of our people here to see how special Ranma is to them. So I'm just going to bounce back and forth from experience to non-experience. So we'll start with, we'll start with you, Jake. Was this your first time ever seeing Ranma? And what did you think of Ranma when you first checked it out?
You know damn well. Okay, so this is definitely not my first time watching Ranma Nibunuichi. We were just talking about the movies, and I remember distinctly that right around the time I was graduating from college and the first year or two thereafter, Brandon had it in his head to try and throw as many anime at me as he possibly could. And one of the first ones, I think, was a bunch of us actually sat down in the Kresge Lounge at good old Roanoke College and watched a Ranma movie. And for the life of me, I couldn't remember what we watched. And he couldn't remember what he showed me. And it wasn't until I watched the entire series, the OVAs, and both movies that I was like, you showed me the second movie.
There's actually 3 movies.
So that was my first experience with Ranma. But I have, like I said, I think I've only watched the show through once, but I have now watched season 1 through at least twice. I feel like I've seen portions of the series multiple times, and I've seen the OVAs a couple of times. I've seen the movies a couple of times. And I have always really enjoyed it. That first time we saw it, I thought it was a lot of fun, but it didn't really lodge in my brain. I didn't even remember, I didn't even make the connection when he first said you need to watch this series. But then I watched the show, and it was my first introduction as well to Rumiko Takahashi. Those who follow the channel know that I am an enormous fan of Maison Ikkoku, and I consider it probably the best show I've ever watched, other than maybe Cheers. And Ikkoku is a classic, and I've read the entire manga. I've also watched the entirety of Ursa Yatsura, although I've not picked up the new series yet. And I've watched Inuyasha, but I never got to final chapter. I've yet to watch Rinne. And I've watched most of the old Rumik World stuff, the stuff that was never released, as well as the never officially released here. And we have a discussion with Dave on Mermaid Scar and Mermaid Forest, as a matter of fact. So I've definitely looked a lot into this realm of the Rumik world, as it were. And of it all, and Brandon created a monster when he introduced me to anime. To this day, my favorite anime character is still Ukyo Kuonji. We did not get to her this time around because she doesn't show up. She shows up a little while from here.
That's what I just watched.
But Ranma himself, herself, and Shampoo and Nabiki and a couple others are favorites of mine as well. It's a show that's full of great characters. Takahashi tends to cannibalize her characters and reuse them from series to series, but she does a great job creating memorable, unforgettable characters, even if Shampoo is the reincarnation of Lum Invader, even though Ryunosuke became Ranma and Ukyo in different ways, even though Genma is essentially a reincarnation of Ryunosuke's father, even though the Kunos are the Mendo's redux. They've been done before, but each time they're done, they're memorable and they're fun, and just add to that, it's just a fun story. It basically, Takahashi wanted to create a romantic sitcom where she could create any martial art she wanted to.
And she did.
And it really does seem like that after a while.
Oh, wait till you get to if you ever get to continue the manga, I tell you,
Yeah.
Once you start getting to a point in the later ones, you can tell she's scraping the bottom of the barrel for ideas.
Right. Well, even the main school is depending on the translation, the school of anything goes martial arts or the school of indiscriminate grappling.
Yes.
Which are both great names for it. And then I'll just go ahead and say as well, the music is great in the series. The 5th season ender, Red Poppy Flower, is still one of my absolute favorite themes. I love the music in this series. It's just a great series, and it's a sentimental favorite of mine. Parts of it, particularly the open racism toward the Chinese, haven't aged as well as I would like, but it's still a fun show and a classic.
All right. We'll definitely talk a little bit more about the music as we hit the end. So, Kroll,
Yes.
was this your first time with the series?
It was. Definitely enjoy it. Like I said, I started watching and was to watch season 1, and next thing I know, I was into season 3. Like, oh, okay. Guess I went a little too far, and but screw it, I'll just keep going. And made it to season 6, and still enjoying it, and can't wait to finish it off, and then I'll watch those movies and see how they go. The character is really fun. Every character has something about them and something you like and enjoy. Even the doctor that's a great doctor until he gets around his love, and just completely oblivious to the fact that obviously feels the same about him because she's always bringing him food, always buying that she has to return. Like I don't think there's any way to have any more signs of she likes you besides her. I like you. So, and I really like how Akane is like tries to play matchmaker with them. You don't get that with the first season because she's still has a crush on him, but she drops that crush when she actually realizes she likes Ranma. Of course, she never admits it. At least not yet.
It sounds like you've definitely been having fun with the series.
Definitely. Now, as far as music goes, I like the beginner of the first season, and I think it was the end of the second season, I believe, where it was like
Ranma Boy, or the one that did the paper cutouts.
It was saying the names of the people. It was like Ranma, and it was like.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, I got you.
I like that one. Other than that, I was really a fan of the movie. So, I liked the current season 6, the opener. Ooh, really don't like this one. Really don't like that one. So difference of opinion there.
Well, we'll definitely get to talk, especially about the music in this season once we get towards the end of this episode.
Just a impression on that. It was definitely enjoyable. When I heard about it, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it, but it's great. It's absolutely great. And as much as you want to root for your main character, I never get to care because it's great. Girl. So
Ranma is an interesting series in that I don't know if there's anybody that I would truly say are perfectly unflawed. I think they're all flawed in many ways.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
he's a
absolutely.
ass a lot, and
but Takahashi doesn't tend to have perfect characters typically in her
yeah.
series.
Oh, I don't know him.
But
Yeah, no perfect character at all, but they all have something you can enjoy about them. You know, they all bring something to the table. You know, I mean that the father's kind of a cad, but you know he definitely has his moments.
let's see here.
Marrying off his son to two women.
Right. Well, more the I think there were how many were there that they mentioned total? There
Well,
were two major
there's
ones.
four, but two was from his father. Being
He's got them.
Nani, and then of course uh,
Ah.
Shampoo ended up being him her fiance, and then you know Tano's sister again also you know kind of became fiance without him his knowledge, at least in her mind. So it kind of, I think it's hilarious when all try to like fight, you know. It's funny because Akane is like denial of her feelings, but when it comes to like the rivals, she's right up there fighting them, you know. And boy, does she get jealous. Not as much as person, but yeah.
Well, why don't we go ahead and move on to the other first impressions we have here? So I'm gonna, like I say, I'm going from experience to inexperience. So I guess we're gonna go back to experience again with Brittany. Obviously, this must be your first time ever seeing Ranma, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I was not at all a VHS collector of the series. Oh my god. So much of my college money was spent on this series, I swear. Overall, this is a important series in anime culture wise, and it's amazing that sites, because I mean I watched on what is it, Paramount of all things, on their free site, which is kind of unique. That this was not only was sort of a start for Ramoka Takahashi's second series that she did weekly. Keep in mind, she was doing Maison Koku at the same time she was doing Rumble 1/2. So she was doing two series at one time when she did this series. But I mean, yeah, she was doing both at the same time. And this series is very much a pinnacle for Japanese society and a pinnacle for GLBT society. It's very, open and coming. It's about, accepting women in the roles that would be traditionally manly, which is sort of the concept with Ranma having to accept his female half throughout the series. He has to do that, and often we see the strongest fighters are the female roles in the series. So it has that underlining theme, and it's just funny. It's hilarious. It's stupid. It's, yes, it's, a bit, it would not be able to be made today the way it is. We would lose the Chinese jokes. We would lose probably a lot of the sexual jokks these days. But yeah.
The frequent nudity.
Yeah.
Right though.
Sadly.
Well, there'd be a lot of blocking. They do a lot of blocking in the series.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's your favorite sitcom with boobs.
All right. Do you have anything else on the first impression?
I mean, this was one of the series to drag me into anime. I've seen other anime beforehand, but this was one that I was able to find the second VHS at Blockbuster. watched it, loved the series, and got hooked on it, and was buying it $25 basically a month for each VHS as it came out slowly.
All right. True old school collector. Probably the only one here who had started collecting it before me.
And are you talking 2, 3, or 4 episode VHSs?
They were 2 episodes at the beginning.
Damn.
Wow. $5 for 2 episodes. Sad things, the sad reality of those days.
Yeah, and if you wanted sub, you paid another $4.
Oh yeah, hey, you were if you were one of those who did not want English dub, you had to pay out for it. Yeah, if Roger joins us, he's probably the only one here that might have started Ranma at the same time or earlier than you. That's a might. So Dave, was this your first time watching the series?
Yes, it was. I had heard of it from you before because over time you mentioned it, but I had never seen it. But I also know that this isn't my only transgender series that I've seen. Or at least seen episodes of, but it is comical. It is very easy to watch, and the characters are easy to like or dislike.
Dislike? What do you dislike?
Well,
I'm sure we'll get into it.
But Ranma's the easiest to like because he's obviously cursed with something that his father accidentally, got him into through his extensive training.
Yeah,
and
his father doesn't make himself look any better.
No, his father makes things worse.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it isn't exactly the greatest panda.
Yeah, definitely.
That cradle of death.
Although again, I compared Ranma and Genma to the Fujinamis. If you see Orosayatsura, Mr. Fujinami is a much worse father.
Yes.
Much worse.
I mean,
Genma at least has some humanity.
I mean, he actually basically had a daughter who wants to be a daughter, and basically says, "No, you're my son."
Yep.
But which I feel like that's basically that's basis. That's got to be one of the major bases for Ranma and Genma right there. But that's a discussion for another time if we ever hit Earth Ayatsura. Well, my first introduction to Ranma was actually kind of funny. I was sent over by a friend, actually a brother of my best friend at the time, and said, if you find any of this series, pick it up for me, because I was an avid comic collector at the time. And so I was like, okay, well, sure. So I found a couple from series 4. I know the first story was actually Ranma and Juliet was the very first Ranma story I ever read. And I read them and I was like, oh, he's not getting these. And
Oops.
then I kept trying to find more and more, and I kept reading the comics, and then I located some VHSs of the series, and that really was the start of me getting into anime in general. I've been an avid Rumiko Takahashi fan. I've seen a lot of her stuff. I've read a lot of her stuff. I've even seen some of the more obscure stuff like the 1 Pound Gospel live action, the Ranma stage musical, stuff like that. And I have yet to see a lot of the newer stuff. I have not read a lot of Rene, and I have not watched more than one episode of Yashahime because I really haven't gotten into either of those. But for the most part, I've been a big fan of the creator. And though Maison Ikoku edges this one out by a bit as far as favorite series goes, I say that if I was going all around fun, I would still put this one above. It's just a lot of fun. You can usually stick in a few episodes and just have fun with it. And it's just, in general, a joy. Yeah. So, let us, I guess, get into the discussion. And I'm going to, and I'll remind everybody to try and mute your mics while we're, if you're not talking, as we go. I'm going to go and hit the airing dates I'm going to run by, because the release of the series did not match up with how they re-released the series to most streaming platforms. And Brittany, you said on Peacock or Paramount?
Paramount, yeah.
Did they also do that with Paramount with the odd episode order?
Yeah, they did the odd episodes. It was only strictly subtitle on Paramount as well as on Tubi. If people go looking for them on there, they're only sub, but yeah, they're in the odd order.
So we'll cover that at the end of our discussion. We'll talk a little bit about that and what they added in. Especially since there's a scene that looks to have been added into one of the episodes that was this season to call back to those episodes. So
I did see that, and I was curious about that. I wonder if I don't know what the story is.
We'll talk about that when we reach it. So let's go ahead and get started. The very first episode, and I'm going to try and do this in storylines as I can instead of episode to episode. But the first episode is its own thing. It's its own thing. Where we introduce Ranma and his father Genma and the Tendos, which are this martial arts master who has his own dojo, and he has 3 daughters. But because he can't just leave his dojo to one of his daughters on his own, he needs to marry off one of the daughters to have him inherit the dojo. So we enter Ranma, who is the son of his training partner, Genma. Yes. So many different names. And since he happens to have a son, so he says, okay, I'll marry you off to, I'll marry one of my daughters off to your son, and then they'll take over the dojo. So we have, of course, Genma, who is a martial arts master, and Ranma, who is his son in training. Then you have, of course, you have the Tendos with his daughters Nabiki. Well, actually, let's start with the oldest, Kasumi, 19, Nabiki, 17, and Akane, 16. All 3 of them having their different personalities, with the oldest being more of a matronly, like just this, cooking, cleaning, all the basics. The middle daughter being very business savvy, to a fault. And then there is the more tomboyish youngest daughter, who seems the most apt to want to take over the dojo, as far as, the martial arts angle is concerned. In this episode, you find that at first she's kind of thankful that Ranma is a girl, that they thought, but then realized very quickly that no, Ranma is not a girl.
Yeah. You should back up a moment and note that when we first meet Ranma and Genma, we are introduced to a red-haired girl and a panda.
Yes.
Rather than, you've heard Son Tendo talking about, oh, my old friend is coming and he's bringing his son. And it's like, but then we see these others and I'm like, what son?
I do kind of like how they do a little bit more in the manga, but how they basically have Biki poking her in the chest, like,
yeah,
is this a girl? Do you see a girl? And Ron was like, please stop that.
Right.
But we find out that when in warm water or hot water, depending, not boiling, Ranma actually is a boy, and the panda is actually his father. where they have a curse where they decided to train at a cursed spring in China, really more like Ranma's father decided that. And they both fell into these cursed springs that...
Despite the fact that neither of them spoke a word of Chinese.
Yep. And the curse basically is that whoever falls into the spring, whatever drowned there is what they became. And in Ranma's father's case, it was a panda. And in Ranma's case, it was a girl. And whenever splashed with cold water, the curse takes effect and they become those creatures, and hot water reverses the effect to the original form. Unfortunately for Ranma, for some reason, Kasumi basically treats that as like, calls Ranma to bath and then calls Akane to bath at the same time, which led to an unfortunate incident. So now that we've gotten to basically the synopsis of that episode, what are y'all's thoughts on this episode?
I mean, it's a classic.
Right.
Set up for anything. You get the distraction. We don't really even see male Ranma or Genma until about almost halfway through the episode, when we get the reveal to Kane that Ranma's walking in on her.
Mm-hmm. And of course,
the other way around. But yeah.
Of course, this being a 90s anime, well, late 80s, this came out in 89. Akane, of course, blames Ranma, and he's like, "You walked in on me." But no, that's not the way she thinks of it.
Well,
but you do get some fun. I think it is a fun intro to them. You see the curse right away, but not right. Like you see the cursed form first, which is a really cool way to introduce the idea. There, and then of course the introductions of the Tendos are good. You get the good idea. Anyone familiar with Japanese voice acting of the era will immediately recognize Kikuko Inoue as Kasumi, and that tells you all you need to know about her character, because that's what Inoue always plays. But it's I know Brandon and I differ on Nabiki. I have always been highly amused by Nabiki, but I don't know if that means I like her. It's more I respect her chutzpah.
We've always been fascinated by the female characters that like to use the male characters.
Well, the fact that the main target of her fleecing is Tadawaki Kuno, you got to admit, he deserves most of that.
Nabiki also gets much worse as the series goes on.
Yeah.
That storyline where she says, "Okay, well, I'll take on Ranma as my fiance."
Yeah.
Almost leads her to irredeemable status in some ways.
She does some bad things, but again, some of the character templates are already there. She kind of picked up on some of the stuff that Akemi and Yotsuya were doing in Maison Nikoku, but she never goes as far as either of them do. What's that?
I didn't like them either. So
she never goes as far as they do. I think Akemi did cross the line. I'm not sure Nabiki ever fully did, but anyway. And then as Ron saw, and I don't know if the rest of y'all saw, I still back in the days when everyone was making AMVs, someone made the perfect one of her with Material Girl by Madonna. I still think that was just the perfect character AMV.
Well, I still have that. I still have that clip whenever I find an opportune point, I tend to put it in, where Kuno is breaking through the door in the first movie. It's like, and she's like, "Kuno, baby, the door," and he's like, "Be silent, woman." I do not know why, but always whenever I hear that.
With Nabiki, the way when she was being Rama's fiance, is because she dumped Rama, and Nabiki's like, "Well, I'm going to take him," because she knew that Asuki really wanted to be Ranma, but she never wanted to admit it. So she did it to get her sister to take him back to. I mean, yeah, she was trying to make money because that's just her. But still, she was playing matchmaker. She wasn't really trying to take Ranma. She wasn't really in love with Ranma. She wanted to get them back together. She knew how much her sister cared, and you know, so in her she was helping. So I don't think she was like crossing a line or going evil or anything. She was just, of course she was trying to make money because that's just her, you know,
She
that's
has,
who she
yeah.
is. But you know, she was also trying to get them back together because she knew they both love each other, even though neither one of them ever admit it. You know, but you see how much jealous they get, especially her. I mean, she's just always jealous. But of course, you know, he does have 3 other fiancés.
Also, one thing it's interesting in this series that you start to see in the first episode, you definitely will see it more as the series goes on, is a lot of the characters in this series are actually kind of dense. Well, you know, we have, you
Yeah,
know,
none
the
of them
first,
are all that intelligent.
well,
Kind
no, I
of.
wouldn't say none. I wouldn't
Except
say
for
none because Nabiki is sharp as a tack.
yeah,
And
the beginning shop, and so is in
Shampoo is
the,
pretty
the
clever
grandmother.
herself. And
Shampoo's
Cologne
grandmother.
is clever.
Yeah, clone
There
is
are
better.
there are a few, but most of them are pretty dense. None
Yeah.
probably more so than Tadaoki Kuno, but you start to see
Yeah,
that in this
Kuro's really
episode
dense.
because
Yeah,
Akane,
the Black Rose is pretty dense.
yeah,
Now, I want to say
Akane,
about this
yeah.
first episode.
Well,
I think yeah, it was a great reveal when you know she's like in the bath. You know,
yeah,
Rama's in the bathroom as a girl, and Akane comes in, and it's a guy, and she like freaks out and
yeah,
leaves, and then you know he comes out and she smacks him, and it's like, how dare you, you know, like who are you, you pervert, you know, and you know that's the first thing she calls him, the pervert, which she calls him quite a few
right.
times through the series, especially in the first season. He's just the pervert, you know.
This is,
No matter what.
Akane and Rama from the start almost are kind of an old married couple. They
Yeah,
just won't
they are.
admit
They
it
have
to
the chemistry
themselves.
right away, right away. And it's funny because it's like the other 2 girls are like, well, I don't want to marry a girl, so you know they just automatically dumped it on Akane. Like she
Right.
didn't. I mean, and then of course, you know, at first you think that maybe she's like a lesbian. She doesn't like men because
Mhm.
they led you to believe that she didn't like guys
Uh,
until later in that season
I
but we'll
with
talk
the
about
doctor. But the
I
first
thought
season,
the most interesting character of this first season was Dr. Tofu's mother.
that. And well, we'll get
It
to
was
that
fun.
as we move on.
Yeah.
but yeah,
Any
the,
more commentary about the first episode?
I wanted to ask Brandon. You probably have memorized the exact time that this happened, and maybe Brittany. I want to say it was the first episode, but it might have been the first 3 episodes. There's that great quote where Ranma is just complaining about Akane, and Kasumi says, "She's really a very sweet girl. She's just a violent maniac."
Well, they start that right off, but
Right.
I
You are
don't
definitely
you know,
not.
And it
yeah,
really does.
the
She
sweet girl is
is.
around me. That fits her.
And I know I know Brandon and Brittany will know some of this background. Like there's been a lot of discussion about just how much of a bitch Akane really is, and some people I know, if I recall correctly, I think our late friend really hated her, right?
hated her guts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And
I mean, to be fair, honestly, you could replace her with Kyle's mom in the quote unquote South Park famous song.
Well, and again, to me, Akane
but
one of those types of characters, like was it Natsu in gosh
you're talking about Naru and Love Hina, right?
Hina, like that.
Yeah.
Another
She is.
character, the character that basically unfairly automatically assumes that the male character of their affections is wrong.
It's the tsundere. It's the tsundere character, and Akane's a horrible tsundere character.
She's. I would say that most of Takashi's characters don't fully fit those labels, but I would say that she is very close to being a prototype for tsundere.
No. She and Lum are the origins of tsundere. There's no
Lum?
debate.
Oh,
Yes, she and Lum are the origins of tsundere.
Lum is very straightforward with her interests, though.
Yeah, but she's very violent with it, and that is part of the key with a tsundere character. So you also have to be violent.
Right. Well, I would almost say, what's the one where I can have you, but no one else can? What's that one?
Yandere.
That would be Lum, I would think.
No. Only yandere character I can think of that Takahashi created is Kodachi, and that is very much Kodachi. And the series is a yandere.
Yeah, she is. But
my favorite yandere character was the one from what was the one about the girl who falls in love with her brother. That was actually a pretty good series, except for
Ranma,
where the one woman just goes up there and then just starts talking about how they'll just kill these guys, and then it's just I've got the scene actually sitting there. It's like, man, she's turned over to yandere.
Well, yeah. So basically, I have a lot more mileage for tsundere characters than some people do. Although I'll admit, when they're true, textbook tsundere to the point where there's no nuance, that annoys the shit out of me. I think there's nuance in Akane because she is a sweet girl when she's not angry. She's just angry all the time, especially with Ranma.
Now, one thing I also wanted that I thought was an interesting point, and they did this in the manga too, is that Ranma introduces himself twice, but after every single one of them, after both, it's like, I'm Ranma Satomi. I'm sorry about this. That was both.
Yeah.
And I thought that was also a very interesting way of doing it. I just I like that way of going about it.
And that's another example of the density of characters that we'll get through as we go on.
Yes.
Akane, of course, they explain right away, okay, this is what happens with him. But some characters need a little more explaining. And when we get to it,
some never get it.
Some never get it. And Akane herself has the same blinders on when it comes to Pichan. But
right? Why? She has a fiance that turns into a girl. His father turns into a panda. Moose turns into a goose. Fucking Shampoo turns into a cat. But you can't figure out that he turned into a pig.
Oh no. There are 3 immensely dense characters, and it's Akane, Kuko, and Kodachi.
One could argue how dense Kasumi is too, but she,
Akane
is a different sort of dense.
Akane's density varies from episode to episode, and on the subject. Kodachi and Kuno's denseness remains a constant.
Yes, yes, it does. Definitely. And their fathers. It's a Kuno family trait.
Right?
Their father.
No, I mean, the principal, when we're not going to get to him tonight, but no, he's not really dense. He's just sinister.
He's
sinister and insane.
He's dense in some ways. But he is definitely insane. He is definitely he's a lot of things.
Very few characters in the series can out crazy Kodachi.
I don't really care that much for the principal. That's one of the characters I don't really care that much for.
That's good. Then we're not talking about him this time.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay, yeah.
Let's move on. So that I don't want to be here at 11 o'clock.
Right.
Episode. So I'm going to be moving these in multiple episode groups as this goes on with storylines. So 2 storylines hit the next the next grouping of episodes, with both one starting and kind of the other starting in mid story. The first part of it is as Ranma's going to school, where we are introduced to why Akane has a thing against most boys, because we are introduced to Kuno.
Yeah.
And Kuno is the first of the crazy fighters. And now,
Sort of.
hold on, I'll get back to where we can open discussion. I'm just going to do a summary of this. Essentially, with Kuno, he has said basically, if you want to ask Akane out, you have to beat her in combat. So naturally, she has to fight everybody in the school every time she goes to school. And then Kuno lets her win. And then eventually this leads to a fight between him and Ranma. But it gets complicated because during this particular time, Ranma ends up turning into a girl, and Kuno ends up also falling for the female Ranma.
Pigtail girl.
So
I believe he initially called her the tree-born kettle girl.
Because the scene, Akane throws a kettle of hot water up to Ranma, when Ranma has to actually perch to grab it and then can't quite get the balance to pull it up, and Kuno's head hits the kettle. But that's the first of the two. And then the other one is the Dr. Tofu story, which kind of starts in this but continues beyond it. So we'll hit the Dr. Tofu stuff after, but let's focus on the Kuno story. I left out some of the details so that people can go in and talk about those, but I just wanted to cover them.
Yeah, because it doesn't start with Kuno. It starts with a mass of male characters who are in love with Akano. And she basically beats all these characters up and finally gets to Kuno.
And then after all this, she tells Ranma, "Yeah, I do this every day," and he's like, "What?"
And this is probably one of
it's actually great.
One of two story arcs in the entire series where Kuno is considered anyway a serious.
Right.
And even then, I would debate how serious a threat he was, even in this part. But yes.
Well, given in all fairness,
actually, when he lost his memory, he was.
In all fairness, the Kunos are more than adequate fighters.
Oh, yes.
It's just they get pinned against people like even Akane. As the series goes on, you realize Akane could not hold a candle to half of these characters, but she could wipe the floor with most of the guys in the school. So for Tadawaki Kuno to be standing head and shoulders above the rest of them, he has the skill to do it. He just doesn't have the skill to really, truly beat Akane, and he doesn't have the skill to even potentially go beyond that.
Well, it's sort of like
Ranma, he's not even a challenge to Ranma.
Yeah, Ranma, he's like, he's always like, "Oh, I'm gonna fight you, Ranma," and Ranma just like kicks him or punches him once, and he's out. You know, it's just like there's never a fight, with the exception of when he lost his memory. But yeah.
Because they did that as well with that series early. I can't remember. Yeah, Dragon Ball was earlier than this.
But Dragon Ball was 1983, I believe, and Ranma was 1985.
It's just like with say Yamcha. People like to say Yamcha is so weak, but if you compare Yamcha to the regular martial artists of that world, he could wipe the floor with the majority of them.
And again, as we already established, one of Kuno's tragic flaws is that he's a dingus. He is a moron. He is so full of himself and so trapped in his weird fantasies. He'd probably be a pretty good fighter if he was not so deluded.
Well, we already proved that. Like I said, I won't talk about that episode, but it was proven.
But his introduction always does make me smile, and I rewatched this
upperclassman. I am the upperclassman. The Blue Thunder.
He calls himself the Blue Thunder of Furcon High, and I think some of his classmates are like, "Does anyone ever call him that?"
No.
But whereas Kadachi is known as the Black Rose, like the Kuno.
Definitely. But calls her the Black Rose, especially that first episode. she's in.
I've mostly watched the show in the Japanese, but I think I saw the second movie once in English, probably the time Brandon showed it to us. And I remember you had that one clip you loved to play again and again. And was I think it was Genma. It was something like curse those cursed octopi or something like that. But this time around, I honestly nodded off on the final episode, which is the clip show episode. So I had some time to kill, so I played it in the dub. So it gave me a chance to see everyone's dub voice. And I do enjoy Kuno's dub. I think that whoever did him did a very good job with the pompousness and the
Oh, my favorite dub
yeah.
voices in the series are Kuno and Genma.
Yeah, Genma's fun too.
Genma is just hilarious. How the guy does the voice. He delivers the lines just perfectly for that character. But yeah, the fights with Kuno does show that he's not a pushover. I mean, he even injures Ranma a couple of times in those two fights, but it turns out in both times Ranma definitely comes out on top. At the end of the main fight, one interesting difference between the anime and the manga, and I know Brittany knows this as well, is that one of the reasons why they go see Dr. Tofu after that, I mean, they go to see him after that fight because Kuno actually did cut Ranma in the side. But it was when Ranma was distracted with the pictures, which we'll get into in a moment. But still, he did manage to move fast enough to do that. And when he did that strike special move, the air pressure was so strong it crumbled a statue, which is, no small feat for a person.
Indeed.
Matter of fact, they didn't dwell on that injury in the anime. I think they showed that it got hit, but they didn't show he got cut or anything.
Yeah, I think they showed it.
Yeah. They show a bruise there, and throughout the series you do see Rama grow, and you see Ryoga grow, but you don't really see many other characters grow in the series with their techniques.
Right. Yeah, Ranma and Ryoga develop a rivalry that they kind of have to grow to keep up with each other.
Well, that's the only way to be the main rival,
right?
Because all the rest, they'll get like.
What's that?
You'll see a short spurt of growth with some of the characters. When it comes to an episode, but they never keep up with one another. Like a good example would be one of my favorite characters. He kept up with Ranma for the most part the first fight. In the second fight, he also showed some development, but then had no development until like a storyline like way down the line where he ended up dating a cursed statue. And they found out that because he was dating the statue and lifting it and carrying it around everywhere, he ended up getting super strong by it and became more of a threat, which was Ranma's eventually. And it wasn't the fact that he was kind of dying because of that motivated Ranma. Ranma was like, no, I can't have somebody getting stronger than me. That motivated him.
Right. It's I think a lot of the characters, there is some physical growth with some of the fighters. Like, I feel like it's been a while again since I've seen it, but I seem to remember there was some leveling up with characters like Shampoo and Moose and some of them. But again, it's not on the same level as Ranma and Ryoga. Definitely not. But and the Kunos in particular, I don't feel like I remember seeing much with them at all.
And it kind of starts something, but I really don't feel like it's until we get to Kodachi that we really start to see the Ranma formula start to kick in, and it doesn't go into overdrive until the skaters come up. But we'll get to that in due time.
Right, because Kuno's more of a traditional. I would say he's a traditional kendo user, if I'm not mistaken. They didn't really get into the weird. You're right, Kodachi with the martial arts rhythmic gymnastics was definitely weird jumping off.
And so Ranma never had to And that was why I say Kuno doesn't really fit into that mold, because Ranma didn't fight Kuno with in Kendo. He fought Kuno with his style versus
Right.
style. Whereas on these other ones, and again, I'll get to it as we get to it, but there's a formula to it, and you get to see the formula used again and again as the series goes on. But Kuno is special in many ways.
Yeah, he is.
But you also get to see Nabiki and her way of using the situation in that episode too, those episodes where she ends up taking pictures of Ranma and selling them to Kuno.
That was the best.
And he chastises her. He chastises her for being such a lurid opportunist, if you will. But then he happily buys them all.
Yes.
Yeah.
But does anybody have any more commentary for the Ranma Akane Kuno storyline?
Well, like we were just saying with the pictures, it was great. You know, she comes in, she dumps cold water on Ranma, which doesn't wake him up, which is okay, weird.
From here on, he
then takes these sexy pictures, and then dumps the warm water back on, turning him back into a boy. It's absolutely great. You know, she doesn't even waste the opportunity.
And it's kind of an ongoing gag throughout the series. That Nabiki will continuously take photos of Ranma, either willingly or unwillingly.
Charge even higher.
And she also tends to be ready with the water. Like when Shampoo shows up, she's ready with the hot water to turn him back, and she keeps trying to charge him for it. Basically, if she sees a grift, if she sees an angle for money, she will go for it.
Information, money, everything.
And one thing that we haven't really mentioned yet, I think, but it's important to his role in the series, to their role in the series. The Kunos are loaded. They are rich. And this is a common thing that Takahashi does. The Mendos and Urusei Yatsura, Shun Mitaka, and Maison Ikkoku, there's always a rival, whether real or imagined, who is loaded. And this one, I feel like she basically took the kookiness of the Mendos and turned it up a notch, but with Kuno being slightly more competent than Shotaro Mendo, and Kodachi is much more insane.
She definitely also upped their sexual drive. Because Mendao, while he's very lustful in Urusei Yatsura, he's at the same time very calm, meticulous about his.
Well, also, you got to bear in mind he had a Taru next to him, so everyone looks calm and controlled next to a Taru. But yes,
one of the most perverted characters in the Takahashi world.
And
there's a rival. There is a rival.
And another difference here is I'm forgetting. I can't believe I'm forgetting the sister's name, the Mendo sister. I'm forgetting her name. But
Armor.
She was also a template for Mr. Yotsuya. And in her case, Shutaro, her brother, was her plaything. Yotsuya's plaything was Godai. Kodachi takes it one step further. Ranma's not her plaything. She's her love, her would-be betrothed. Like she puts a sexual angle on it, but it's the same thing. He is her possession. And so she takes that sort of playfulness of those two characters, and in Kodachi, she turned it into an actual dark, twisted psychosis.
So imagine this: a world where Ataru actually studies under Haposai.
Well, they have had a crossover. They have had a crossover.
Is known to us.
I don't know if Ataru and Haposai met in the crossover because it's been a while since I've seen it, but there is a crossover. It's a three-way crossover between Ranma 1/2, Ursa Yashura, and Inuyasha.
Oh well.
I do. Yeah, it's a very brief one though, but
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they had that crossover to promote the anniversary specials, but you're talking like a proper crossover?
I mean, that was it. I mean, that's
Okay.
basically it. I mean, the Ranma 1/2, like we kind of covered it. It's the successor to Ursa Yatsura, which is just insane sex comedy, which is what Takahashi put herself on the map with. And then you had Meizana Koku, which was her monthly series, which was comedy. It was comedy to romance, but it went more romance story driven. And you sort of kind of see a little blending of that into Ranma 1/2, taking over Ursa Yasura's place.
Yeah, definitely. Ranma falls somewhere in between the two. Also, in the way that it's made, and Brandon, you were talking about continuing story arcs. This is one of the differences. Ursa Yatsura is highly episodic.
oh, very much
It's
so.
like almost every episode is almost a standalone. Things happen that carry over, but it's like a South Park level episodic series.
It's even worse, Jacob. It's every half episode.
Oh
Because
yeah,
each
that's
episode,
right.
it's like it's 2 episodes in one.
Right, you're right. Whereas the Koku was an evolved plot line that played out over several seasons, and Ranma falls in between. We have standalone episodes, but we also have short story arcs, and we have a couple longer story arcs, and
That's
kinda
why
fun.
Ursa Yatsura is one of those few series that if you get volume 1, you can kind of almost just get any volume and just throw in an episode and just have fun with it. Not all the way, but most of the time. Any more commentary on the arc before we move into Dr. Tofu?
We can move on to Tofu, I think. Right?
So we kind of see a little bit of a relationship boost between Akane and Ranma with the Tofu arc. We're introduced to Dr. Tofu, who is a very skilled doctor and martial artist, and he is Akane takes him there a couple times to get better. One of which I remember where she hit
him up
into his face.
She's also in love with him.
So, we're getting to that. Yes. And you find out one of the secrets, of course, of this is that she actually is in love with Dr.
She does
Tofu,
like boys,
but he likes somebody else. And
Well, he's not a boy; he's a doctor.
Yeah. And where Kasumi, which is his love interest, whenever she shows up, he goes
turns into an idiot
and becomes more of a problem than a problem solver. So
the neck.
And that's introduced in a pretty fun way. It's like they're at the clinic, and Kasumi calls, and I believe Akane picked up the phone. Yes. And she's like, "Oh yeah," she's like, "I'm coming by to drop that book off or whatever it was," and then Akane like gets into almost a panic, and she's like, "I'm going on home," and then
the old man that's on his way in for an appointment.
I was going to say it slips out that Kasumi is coming, and the little old lady in the waiting room gets up and leaves. And she meets a man as she's leaving. Kasumi's coming over, and he's like, "Oh well, I guess I have to."
I really needed treatment.
And it's kind of a cool story thing because though they semi-resolve it a little bit towards the end of this arc, they don't fully resolve it until the end of the first Ryoga arc, which is kind of cool in a way. They kind of semi-resolve it, but then they with the episode Akane's Lost Love, but and they also show Ranma and Akane getting a little bit closer because of that, because you get to see them actually bond a little bit together, which where they eat like half a dozen hamburgers.
Well, and also toward the end of that arc, we have the thing where Ryoga damages her hair in a fight with Ranma, and
Yep,
that is a big catalyst toward the resolution of that arc.
it is.
But I will say one bad thing, kind of, to come out of that storyline playing out so early. It's Tofu largely disappears after the first season.
Yes.
It's like he's a big part.
He's not. He's not. He's probably one of the weakest characters written in the series as canon. Because he just has that one quirk, and once it's played out, it's kind of the joke's kind of dead.
They could have. They do show. Well, I was going to say they do show him as a competent chiropractor. He does have some knowledge of martial arts. I feel like he could have been a background character brought in once in a while.
He can read Chinese, and they regularly go to him throughout the series to get the Chinese descriptions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he was involved in a lot of the series, things that involve a little bit more expertise, like the cat tongue curse. And
oh, right, yeah.
I think even when they did
the Moxie Buck and Moxie Buxton as well, yeah.
And that is a huge story arc there.
Okay, so maybe I was just forgetting that because Brittany, you're right. He is kind of forgettable after this first season, and it is partly because that joke has been played out. And yes, it is kind of painful to watch him when he's doing this. It is kind of painful.
Well, the fact that it also kind of ruins the development of Kasumi as a character because she doesn't really develop beyond this point. She's kind of fully developed through all the seasons.
I think that might be part of what I'm getting at, though. If the two of them really did kind of end up more or less together, as they obviously are meant for each other, it would allow for development for her if they played it right. It's just that it just feels like a missed opportunity for both characters. I think
they're to be together in the future. They even show Kasumi's like he obviously fits her template of what she wants. He's an older man.
Yeah.
And, he's very competent and somebody that she could definitely want to serve later in life. So
I mean, basically, they're two characters that suffer under Takahashi's let's load a bunch of characters in a story scenario.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
And
because she does tend to have a lot of characters.
Anything else? I know, Dave, you had some stuff you were talking about with Dr. Tofu. Did you know anything else with him? All right. Well,
I believe he liked the grandmother or his mother. The episode that's later with his mother coming into play and doing the measurement of the waists of the girls, and it's one of the weirdest moments when I see why is Ranma even taking part in this competition.
Well, that's one of those weird related episodes. It's like this weird filler episode. I
think in that case, my guess is that partly it was Ranma's competitive spirit, because that's one of his biggest flaws is that he is so competitive. And
he's so competitive to be winning a measurement of his hips as a girl.
Well, he is proud, even though he is stupid enough to say this more than once. He is kind of proud that he has a better body than Akane.
Well, one of the weird things about it is I've noticed after the episode, which is not far from here, but I cannot remember where it places it because it's only like a minor episode in the whole, where they're kind of unable to really get some hot water, so they make Ranma wear some of Akane's clothes. After that, it was like, okay, Ranma doesn't care about wearing women's clothes anymore for the most part.
No, he still raised holy hell about that leotard he had to do.
Well, but you say that, but actually, there's the one area that Ranma won't change until much later in the series when he has to face Hapasai, and that is the underwear. The underwear always stays as a guy's.
This is true. But one thing that you do see as the series goes on, like at the beginning, Ranma is very, very, very ashamed of turning into a girl, and that's part of why when he introduces himself, he says sorry about it. You know, that's kind of, he's ashamed of it. But by the end of the first season, he's already learned a couple of things, and one of them is that cute girls get the perks, and he is occasionally, even though Kuno gives him the heebie-jeebies, he will accept small gifts when he's a girl. And he also used his excuse to eat a parfait because he thought it was too embarrassing to do as a guy. But he's like, but I always wanted to try one, and now I can.
To be fair, parfaits are damn good reason to go as a girl.
But yes, but even by the end of the first season, he's already learning that there are times where this curse has its uses. And one of the fun things as the show goes on is seeing how everyone deals with their curses. For Ryoga, it pretty much is a curse. For Moose, it pretty much is a curse. And neither of them seems to ever handle the transformation on purpose, with rare exceptions.
Well,
although Ryoga uses it to milk the whole Akane thing, so that he learns eventually to do that. Genma uses it as a way to run away from responsibility, and he actively uses it. And Shanpu is in absolute control of her. She almost never turns, and mostly to tweak Ranma.
well, and I'll say this: Ranma's curse. I mean, Ryoga's curse does serve him to find true love in the end. But
yes, although apparently we never meet his true love in the anime.
I was gonna say you only meet him. You only need his true love if you read the manga, and it's funny. I like how it goes about that. But speaking of Ryoga, why don't we go ahead and hit Ryoga's story?
Ryoga actually had a few love interests that he should have stayed with. Like that one that kept calling him Joe later on.
They kept trying to pair him with Ukyo in the anime more than.
I think they would have been a cool couple.
He and Ukyo are well matched as friends, but they would kill each other if they ever ended up together.
But let's talk about Ryoga. It's interesting because they hit 2 Ryoga arcs kind of back to back, and they split it with the Dr. Tofu story. Basically, the first part, Ryoga ends up coming in, and Ranma doesn't understand why he's so PO'd with him. He's like, look, dude, you challenged me to a fight. I waited 4 days.
3 days.
Like, on the 5th day, it's like, and on the 4th day, you got cowardly and ran away. But the idea is basically Ranma was going to an old boys' school, and he ends up basically always kicking Ryoga's ass and taking the bread that they were tossing up.
Yes, because it was a battlefield at lunch.
And then Ryoga ended up getting kind of PO'd with him about that, so he challenged him to a fight. So then finally Ryoga finds his way to the school. Unfortunately for Ryoga, he has one slight quirk, which is that he doesn't seem to have a very good sense of direction.
He couldn't find the empty lot behind his house where they were supposed to fight in the first place.
No, he ended up somehow repeatedly
going to China.
Where was it? It was Shikoku, wasn't it? That he ended up in that one little village over and over again?
What was that?
Shikoku, yes. Shikoku. Yes.
And he ended up in Hokkaido, and those are 2 completely different islands from the one that Tokyo is on.
Yes.
And somehow
he got there by land.
Yeah. And then, but the whole thing with the fight was, yes, Ranma waited 3 days. The fight was to take place in the lot behind Ryoga's house.
Yeah. He couldn't find it.
It referenced in the manga exactly what they said, because I thought
they kept moving it.
Okay, now the second volume of the manga starts off with the second Ryoga arc, but I do find it actually Ryoga is probably the first true threat to Ranma, because Kuno really wasn't a threat.
Yeah,
But-
right.
Well, he's the ongoing rival as we kind of reached. You always got to have it's like the Ken and Ryu in Street Fighter. You always have that rival character.
Now Ranma
Right.
always comes out on top, and you can tell at this point in the series, Ranma edges him out just enough that if he takes it seriously, he can still take Ryoga and basically take him down flat.
Right.
Even though Ryoga's stronger, he's definitely slower than Ranma. And
Way slower.
Right. And one thing that isn't really dwelt on in the first season, but I do remember this is explained at some point, but you can see it in action, is that Ranma is damn strong and damn fast normally. As the girl, he's not as strong, but he is lightning fast.
Yeah.
He gets fast as a girl. So it's like when he's a guy, him and Ryoga are a little more evenly matched, but it's still, yeah, there's definitely that. But Ryoga is stupid strong.
and stupid,
There's like that. He has that umbrella that he's flinging around, just like this, that, and the other, and it looks like a regular old umbrella. You wouldn't think nothing of it.
But it's
And
super
then one
heavy.
of the guys just goes over and tries to pick it up, and he's like, "What's it? What is this?"
actually, also Ryoga is one of those best friend worst enemy situations with Ranma.
Yeah, frenemy. Because, and again, we come to find out his other quirk is that, and the reason why he really wants to kill Ranma is when he made it to China, and after traveling the length and breadth of China, he got pushed into the Jusenkyo Springs by Ranma and Genma by mistake. They didn't even know he was there.
No. He
And-
got pushed in by a panda and a redhead girl.
Yes,
Yeah.
a panda and a redheaded girl, yes. And it took him a minute to put two and two together when he
Yeah,
met
Ron
them.
was like some panda and a redheaded girl, and he was like,
Well, which is why
Right.
about it.
But
When you look at
the thing is, like, when he becomes Pichan, which is Akane's name for him, of course, he does some things he should be ashamed of as
hell yeah.
Pichan. And
in the bed with her, and
than Ranma ever would be considered, if you think
but
about it.
the thing is, Ranma respects him. I guess it's sort of like almost like a fighter's code, sort of, because they are rivals. He does respect him as a rival.
yeah, straight
He
on.
won't tell his rival's secrets, but he wants to so badly, more than once, and it's
Well, he does tease him with it a couple of times.
Oh yeah, he does.
He does call him Pichan a few times when he's Ryoga as well. So.
Now,
And Ryoga briefly gets to enjoy being in that position when Shampoo shows up, because he knows the two sides of Ranma before she does. But he never, when he thinks to act on it, Ranma's just like, You know? Yeah.
One actual thing that's interesting about their first fight, because really it's not really much of a second fight, to tell you the truth, because it's very brief. Ryoga comes in to ambush him at night, and then in the rain, which, again, not very smart. But Ryoga not very smart either. And then ends up eventually being transformed when Akane throws them both out. But the first fight, you can actually tell that Ryoga still has the curse going for him in this particular run of it. I don't remember if it was in the manga, but I think it was in the manga as well, because not only did you see Ryoga basically using his umbrella on the regular to deflect any water at him, you also see his reaction when he finds out that Ranma is cursed to become a girl. He's like, why should I feel sorry for something when you're looking so cute instead of like this? That's
Yeah.
That's not a curse. I've got a curse. But it
And we eventually come to find out another reason why he feels cursed is what happened to him after he became a pig, where Genma found him and took him to their Chinese tour guide, and they were going to eat him.
They put him in the hot water. Luckily, it turned him back into a boy. But
So he was terrorized.
And this tour guide is like, there is legend of cursed spring where pig fell in and drowned. And wouldn't it be something if this is actually a human? But did you hear I made a joke?
yeah,
When Ryoga jumps out, he's like, oh, he is human. We cannot eat him.
I mean, that ultimately sets up the gag constantly, where we're going to keep running across the ponds throughout this anime, and it's like, oh, you fell into a cursed spring of blah 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 blah, and it's something will be put up about that gag in some way.
Yeah, and at first they're like, okay, spring of drowned cat, spring of drowned goose, spring of...
I wonder how I don't remember how Shampoo ended up with the curse.
She was being retrained by her grandmother.
Yeah,
but
they were training there.
But because she failed.
That's next season.
Yeah, she failed to do it in this season, which we'll talk about in a bit. But I mean, shoot, it's not like, say, the most ridiculous one, which was it Wise Man? No, Yeti riding a
yak carrying an eel and what was the other one?
And a crane.
Yeah, that was
whatever.
Octopus later, because
funny.
actually jumped into another spring later to add the arms to make him stronger.
Right, and that was Santiago Caro, right?
Yeah. Not that he needed a strength.
So you can add curse to the curse.
Wasn't he dipped in there by Haplosai?
Yes, he was.
Yeah,
when he was born.
Pretty much add curses to the curse that you already had.
Yes.
That's the reason why I wonder if the Spring of Drowned Man actually would have helped in that case.
No, it would not.
But yeah, it's an interesting thing. Of course, Takahashi herself has said to people who tried to take it too serious, like, look, don't take this seriously. This is a gag manga.
It's a comedy cartoon series. Okay, don't take it seriously.
Fucking hilarious.
One of the results, of course, of the fight, Ranma and Ryoga, and I love the fight because Ryoga uses a lot of different techniques. He's able to take his belt and make it into like as sharp as a sword. He uses his bandanas as flying projectiles, and of course that massive umbrella, which even Akane had trouble lifting, shows that how strong he is. And of course, then Ranma's one-handing it too, in girl form. But it leads to that where Ranma has to save Akane at the first fight, and ends up saying, like, you think I'm holding you because I want to, which leads to a big old slap in the face. But Ryoga's belt coming down and slicing off her hair, which you find out was grown long because she was trying to win over Dr. Tofu. But it also signifies her finally giving up on Dr. Tofu, cutting her hair short, and becoming basically what she looks like as a character.
It's a traditional Japanese issue of saying you're growing out, or you're becoming such and such, or you leave the tribe. You cut your hair. It's throughout Asian culture.
But I love how it stops everything. Even Ryoga, who was like going off like full force anger, he was totally diffused at that moment. They just stopped. It's like, okay, no. It's like, Ranma's like, go ahead and hit me, and he's like, yeah, you could hit me too. And it's like,
it's like even though both of them are pretty freaking dense when it comes to the female mind, they know something just happened, that is a line was crossed. They know.
They are both dense, but
And even with Ranma's biggest character flaw is he's arrogant as heck.
You think?
Whereas
We again, we had a friend, our late friend in our game group had this one character whose main quirk was if anyone would say the word challenge, he would be like, challenge?
Well, that friend.
That's kind of how
That's my
Ranma
character,
is.
Jacob. That's my
Was
character.
that?
What are you talking about? That was my
That was
character.
you? Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry. I thought that sounded like a George thing, so I'm sorry. I got it mixed up. But still, but the idea, was that inspired by Ranma, or was that just like, because it is similar to his character?
That was inspired by Brandon gave me one word that could react to.
Okay. But like I said, that is kind of his thing, though. It's like he has this weird, and this is one of the things I think maybe hasn't aged as well as it could have, is that Ranma is basically a very decent guy, but he does have a chauvinistic streak. He does have an old-fashioned sort of patriarchal way of looking at the world, and he doesn't think he won't hit a girl. You know, so he very rarely will actually engage a female opponent, and usually he will only do it in girl form, and usually he only do it if pushed or if he has a need to, like with Kadachi. He basically is stepping in for Akane and trying to protect her honor, essentially. He does have this chauvinistic streak to him, and that it can be kind of annoying, but it also means he's very lopsided in which challenges he accepts. But if he gets a challenge from a guy, he will not back down. And that can be a character flaw.
So one thing I think is interesting about Ryoga's character that I dislike about the character more than anything else is that Ryoga tends to vacillate from nice guy to total asshole.
Yeah.
And sometimes he'll be like, people ask him for help, he'll like fuck off, and but other times he'll act like he's sort of a more of a altruistic warrior. It's kind of a back and forth with him, and I don't like that.
He is the man of constant sorrow, after all. And actually, when he eventually masters the one move that Ranma can't master, and it's because only Ryoga can reach those depths of despair.
That's okay. Ranma does the opposite one that Ryoga can't master. So.
Right, because Ranma is all about confidence.
But I mean, and Ryoga, truly, if you're talking about the combat between the two of them, the first time that Ryoga becomes a truly nasty challenge for Ranma is when he learns the breaking point technique, and but that's a later on, because after that, I mean, really, when Ranma goes head to head with Ryoga and he takes Ryoga seriously at the time, he comes out on top. Ryoga shows that he could hurt Ranma if he connects, but Ryoga rarely ever gets to connect with Ranma.
Right. Again, the speed thing is one of the big things there. I mean, yeah.
But that's something I find interesting that you go with in those series, is that, and they do the contrast in that story, is Ranma works on his speed and Ryoga works on his strength. But the problem is, aren't the areas that they need to develop more. They need to develop the other thing.
Well, yeah, if you can't hit somebody, doesn't matter how strong you are.
And we mentioned earlier that both of them develop as fighters in the series. Both Ranma and Ryoga have better battle sense than a lot of shonen characters do. They both are able and willing to learn and to try out new techniques. And they do use a variety of techniques. And that is one of the things I like about I'm going to just say generally, one of the things I like about the series is that Ranma learns. He actually changes as a character, not just as a fighter, but as a character through the course of the series. And a lot of your shonen characters don't show nearly as much of that growth from point A to point B.
I mean, one of the strongest images I think that comes from the series is when you see Ranma and Akane running to school, not with Ranma up on the fence, but down next to Akane running side by side. And I'm not going to say that is a special meaning for those who haven't gotten there, but to me, it is actually a more powerful image than a lot of people give it credit for.
It is. I agree with you there because I mean
Yeah,
he's usually walking up on the fence, but yeah, it
But-
was very strong.
Well,
Yeah.
let's move along to something that's going to actually become a staple of the series, which starts with Kodachi, everybody's favorite laugh.
I fucking love her. I love her, and I love her laugh.
But she apparently, it starts with these girls attacking Kodachi in an alleyway, and then Ranma intervenes.
No. The other way around. Kodachi's attacking them.
Yeah, well, that's the idea.
In the anime, yeah, but in the manga, Brandon's right.
Oh, right. Okay.
In the manga, they
But we are talking about the anime
sabotaged
stuff.
them, and then they went to get revenge. But they, but then of course, you then find out from them, it's like, our school has been sabotaged. Akane, please help us.
I mean, Kodachi basically takes out all the other girls. What was it? Four girls she took out by herself. So,
and it relies on Akane to learn a style called rhythmic gymnastics,
which she knows nothing about.
which unfortunately Akane is not graceful in the
Yeah.
slightest.
Yeah, she's not. She's good at martial arts. She's very strong too. But,
And
Yeah.
ends up deciding to try and help train her. But it ends up with Akane ending up injuring herself and Ranma having to take her place in the contest.
Right.
Which, at the end of it all, the prize at the end is Ranma, because
Right.
she's in love with Ranma, with the male Ranma, during her attempt to, to meet her new opponent. Friendly meeting with the new opponent with the hammer.
the best part of that fight is when she uses her brother.
Contestant Kuno has used her brother as to defend.
Now, to be fair, this is basically where they start to inform you that anything goes means anything goes. But
Yeah.
I don't really feel that much with this episode or this story arc because Gymkata exists. So it's a martial art that it actually exists. So,
Well,
yes, I get this one.
They do take it too far, though. Like the part where she's using clubs that have spikes, the fact that she was able to use her brother, like basically,
that's the cartoon element. Come on.
Well, basically, the referee, basically the idea is you have a gymnastics base for a combat style where you can only use tools. You cannot use hand-to-hand combat. So
to be fair, this is the only fight Kodachi's ever had, if you pay attention.
Yeah.
Because she's always sabotaging her opponent before the match.
And that's why it's easy to mistake that first appearance as an attack on the other student, because they're almost proud of the fact that they've never had to actually compete. It's like, even though she clearly has skill, and and she has a team that looks up to her and are skilled themselves, they've never had to compete. They always win by forfeit.
I don't know if they look up to her. I think they fear her.
They might, yeah. But I feel like she has a better rep with her classmates than her brother does with his.
Yeah.
I do feel like, though this is technically one of the few that are legit styles, this does start to show the pattern of got kind of the master of a particular type of martial art, and Ranma meets them on equal ground, learning that martial art and taking them with their own technique. You get again with the skaters. You get to see it again and again and again later. But the skaters probably is the first time that you see like a kind of sort of martial arts style that you don't typically see on the regular.
Right. It also worth noting the whole training. Kodachi makes that proclamation, basically rest that agreement that this is what'll happen if I win or lose or whatever. And Ryoga decides he wants her to win, so he does do his very best to train Akane. But then when she injures herself and Ranma takes over, Ryoga intentionally keeps him up all night in practically a battle session, so that when Ranma shows up at the ring, she is tired.
But did end up learning quite a bit because of
Yes.
it. So
Yes, she learned a lot. And then I also want to mention one of my favorite moments in the whole series. Two of my favorite moments in the whole series, dialogue-wise, are in this episode. And Tadawaki Kuno actually got two really great quotes. The first echoed Kasumi's description of Akane, but in this one, Kuno's describing his sister. And it's something like, I think he said something like, she may be sneaky, sly, and underhanded, but she's actually very twisted.
I do like how as soon as they find out at school that she's into Ranma, he just it's like, I give you both my blessing to date.
Yes. And then the other part is with him and his own personal obsession. And this is, again, we talk about how dense the Kunos are and how, it took Ryoga not very long at all to understand Ranma's predicament. Later on, Shampoo takes a minute, but for different reasons. There was a language barrier and they were trying to keep it from her. But with the Kunos, Ranma tried repeatedly to be upfront about, no, I'm not really different people. It just, and Nabiki even tried to show Tadawaki, she tried to help make it clear to him that this is one and the same person. And one of my favorite moments in the whole series is when the announcer announces her name or asks, what's your name? Oh, Ranma Saotome. And Akane's like, why are you using your name? But then Kodachi's like, how dare you befoul the name of my beloved? But Tadawaki is sitting there. He gets out his pen. I must write this down immediately, lest I forget it.
Not a pen, an ink and brush. He's going traditional Japanese there.
Yes, calligraphy style. But like this man who he considers to be this horrible rival of his, this woman that he says he's in love with has the same name, but he's afraid he'll forget it.
You see, even at that point, even the main crowd, it just accepts, like, oh, okay, a different person, looks the same, same name. That's okay.
Because I think only the Kunos had trouble with it.
But and of course the rest of the school figures it out as time goes on too, except for and. Ranma's secret doesn't stay secret for long, well, except for Kunos, because they're too dense. But that fight was an interesting one. I mean, one of my favorite lines, like where the manga does it better, I think, than the anime, where Ranma tosses a desk, and they're just like, that's legal. And then, of course, she picks up Kuno and tosses him at it, and he slices the desk off. It's like, I was like, the use of the brother is legal.
She used her own brother, and I love the commentators saying and talking about it too.
But also, Ranma definitely is far superior to Kodachi in the skill level, but was handicapped pretty drastically. Not only was Ranma having to function on 0 sleep, but also had to function on P-chan being chained to her for the whole fight and working against her actively.
Yeah.
Well, of course, she got it back on Ryoga a couple of times using P-chan to block a bunch of attacks.
Yeah.
I mean, when they're both falling down and they have like that attack of hot water and they're in the steam, and again, I think this is in the manga where they where Ranma's where Ryoga's like, ha ha ha, a boy in girl's clothes, and he's pointing to Ryoga, ha ha ha, naked boy, as they're falling down.
And I love how Akane just grabs a hose and hoses them down with the cold water to switch them back.
And nearly knocks them out.
Yeah. Somehow she didn't notice that Shishan had turned into Ryoga.
Because that's
Too much
one of her blind spots. She has this
I know.
dense thing where, for whatever reason, she just fell in love with Pichon, and she believes that Ranma just is a nasty little pig hater, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah,
And she
always
never
picking on
even
him.
notices. She never even notices it. It doesn't take much to notice that Pichon is incredibly violent towards Ranma.
Right. She never
And,
pays attention to that. And she's always like, "Oh, Peachon, where did he come
No,
from?
no, Jacob, you
Peachon,
get
where
it
did he come
wrong.
from?"
Pichon is not violent to Ranma. Ranma's violent to Pichon. Always.
well,
That's
that's
the
how
answer.
Akane sees it. Yes.
Exactly.
Peachon fucking scratches the hell out of them and, attacks them all the time. I mean, it's horrible.
We talked about getting a speed boost when he changes. Ryoga gets a huge speed boost. Loses a hell of a lot of strength.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He's a huge speed
Huge
boost. That's
speed
a big.
boost on that.
Yeah. He definitely loses a lot of his fighting capability, but yes, he is unnaturally fast for a pig. That is true.
But we do, of course, Ranma does beat Kodachi at the end after she does things even as far as having a cheat where she has her entire team moving the ring to keep her from being ringed out.
That was great.
Where he eventually is like, "Oh, you're going to try and kick me off? Well, weapons aren't allowed." Well, I'm not kicking you, and ends up kicking the post and basically knocking her off of it.
Well, he basically cuts right through the post with his kick, and she falls out of the ring when the post falls off. Yeah, but I thought that was a pretty fun match. As far as the fights in this series go, that was a fun one.
Definitely. I mean, where are the fight you ever see where they use their sibling?
But don't worry, we get to another fun. Actually, this is where we get to a filler episode where we get to the pelvic fortune telling.
It's not filler. It's not filler. It actually is canon. The pelvic one's canon. It's not the greatest canon, but it's canon.
Did it actually occur at that same time in the manga?
Yeah, about that time.
Because I do not remember it being in anything but.
It was a short, like 1 or 2 chapter issue. It was just like something in between story arcs to just sort of break up the monotony for a bit. But yeah, that one's
a filler in the manga too.
Tofu's mother is an amusing character. I did enjoy her appearance.
She was my favorite character of the whole bunch, to be honest.
No, that's the only time clear to my remembrance. Anyway.
Up until this point,
there is a filler episode that we will address tonight.
Up until this point, that we're talking about, Kodachi is my favorite.
Yeah.
But that changes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is where things can diverge for people who are watching. So we go to the pelvic fortune telling, which the next part that comes after this in the manga is the skating, which comes directly after the Kodachi thing. That I know for a certain because I just looked at it in the manga.
Yes.
But instead we go to the pelvic fortune telling where we have Tofu, basically Tofu's mother coming out to pick him a bride, and all of them compete to be his bride to kind of calm her. But then she notices his feelings for Kasumi, and she's satisfied. But she does this whole thing where she measures their hips because she wants to make sure they've got strong baby birthing hips, and they.
Not to mention, she comes in tow with her husband, his father's whole prayer box.
Yeah. His little shrine. Yeah. And she always complains to him every time she thinks Tofu's going to be alone for his whole life.
Marriage. Look how mean he's being to me.
Yeah.
I should just join my husband since you don't want to listen to me.
Yeah.
But even then, Tofu really kind of feels like a blank slate, even during this episode. He
Yeah.
reacts, but he doesn't overreact to it. It's just kind of there.
He goes along with it all very strangely. Like, even Nabiki thinking, oh, he's a doctor, he has money, gets him to take her out on a date as part of this whole thing. And he just goes along with it. You know,
I
it's like,
love how he names his skeleton Betty.
Yeah, he's. I mean, it's an interesting thing. It kind of gives a little bit more depth to the tofu story, which is.
Well, I mean, we're missing one other thing here. That Genma, for the temporary, at least through season 1, is his assistant.
Yes.
oh, yeah, it's Mr. Sao Tome. Although he always worked in panda form.
That one thing I've noticed that they've done that they take out of this that they had in the manga all the time is that they constantly did a bunch of like little jokes, like dad jokes, like where he pops a paper bag and says, "I'm Ranma's pop, get it?" Da, da, da. Silly things like that.
Dad jokes.
But it was a.
Actually, there's one other thing to note here. It's not until the end of this season 1 that we start to get the Genma with the signs, which is a regular gag.
Yes.
Yeah.
Translate them in the dub. Did they
They
translate
do.
them in the sub? I can't remember. It's been.
No, not real. Well, I mean, yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. I mean, you had to be able to read.
Subtitles down, yeah.
So yeah, that's a interesting thing.
It sounds great.
But hey, he's got to figure out a way to communicate. He can't talk as a panda.
Well, he verbalizes.
Even like when Gendo's like knocks on the back of the head, it's like, "Hey boy, let me tell you," he knocks him off. It's like, "What were you going to tell me, Pop?" But we move from this into Shampoo, which is an interesting character. Whereas you get to hear more about Ranma and Genma's adventures in China, which are recurring themes of the havoc that they decided to leave in their wake in China, messing things up. Gendo, but Ranma is also complicit in this as well, as they go to an Amazon village to watch a tournament, and they both just sit down and start eating the main prize.
Oh yeah, usually this is usually it's Gemma's fault for something, and this is one of the rare occurrences where it's completely Ranma's fault.
Right. Now, not that Genma had any problem whatsoever in immediately following suit, but yes, Ranma was the one loudly complaining about food, and of course their guide. This is one of the running gags with the Chinese tour guide. He never says the important stuff until after the thing has happened.
Right.
And it's actually, if the character, again, there's some, it smacks, unfortunately, of a little bit of stereotyping, because, but it's still kind of a funny gag that he always does this. Oh, sir, you should not.
If there's one group I'm not afraid of pissing off, it's China. On this.
Yeah.
Not that China hasn't got their own share of Japanese stereotypes in there.
Right.
And other stereotypes, so yeah.
And I feel like this character definitely, he probably really enjoys wrecking people's time because of his poor timing, which of course is great comedic timing for the audience. But yes, they sit down at this banquet. Ranma and Genma dig in, and they're well into eating when he looks at them and says, "Oh, sirs, what are you doing?"
You're eating the prize.
Well, if I just challenge her and beat her, then it's no big deal, right? And of course, they're like, no. And then, of course, Shampoo accepts the challenge, and then Ranma easily hands her ass to her, which though Shampoo is strong, when Ranma wants to fight back, Ranma is way stronger.
Yeah.
And of course, so she gives the kiss of death because an outsider woman who beats one of the Amazons, well, it's a big offense, so she has to hunt her down to the ends of the earth and kill her. And of course, one of the interesting things that I want to bring up about this in the show order, and you watched your DVD set for this one, Jacob, was that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so you can tell me if this is the same as it is, and because Brittany, you said they added this part later, but I noticed that when Akane gets mad about this whole thing, because when Ranma beats Shampoo as a guy later in that episode, she definitely gives a different type of kiss, and find out that she has to marry an outsider male who beats her, and Akane gets so mad that she, of course, is beating up on a dummy version of Ranma. And in the episode that I watched, which was the Blu-ray one, it has a flashback to the skater episode where Ranma declares, she's my fiance. Did they not have that in that cut?
No. It did not even occur in the VHS.
No, it was not on there.
So, I don't think they had that. I did see a brief flashback that I did not recall from the show itself, and it looked to me like it might have been related to the skaters, but it was brief, and it wasn't what you just mentioned.
So that's something, again, it just makes me wonder, because I don't know what the reason was that they decided to pull the skater episodes from that order, because originally in the order it goes from the Kodachi fight to the skaters, and then right after the skater fight is over, Shampoo bursts through the wall and starts going at it. That much I know.
The only thing I think of is in the original series, they probably thought Shampoo would be a more important and interesting character to bring in at the end of the season rather than the other two.
No, I can tell you what it was. It was, they initially had only a set run. It was only one season, and they wanted to introduce a character who was more long in the manga, because the Golden Pair only appears once. They wanted to do a character that appears longer in the manga, so they could introduce Shampoo first.
Isn't that what I just said?
In a sense, but
okay, you worded it better. Yeah, because you guys know better than I do how big the Golden Pair were in the manga. I know they're not that big in the show.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
Oh, when we get to that episode, I'll reveal something.
And I'll say one thing real quick about the introduction of Shampoo through that battle and what the results of the battle. I've said repeatedly that Shampoo, in my opinion, is Lum Redux. And one of the reasons why is because she's so tenacious, and she does glomp onto her love interest despite his frequent protestations to the otherwise. But also, it starts the same way. Ataru gets saddled with Lum because he beat her in a contest. So there's definitely a similarity.
The only difference is they take away any of those tsundere elements that Lum had.
No, I don't. Well,
Shampoo never attacks Ranma, whereas Lum frequently fries Ataru.
Well, Shampoo rarely, if ever, attacks Ranma, but she's devious, and she frequently does things that to outsmart, undermine.
She attacks Akane.
That doesn't make her tsundere, though.
No. I wouldn't call her tsundere. I would say she might have some yandere traits a little bit, because she's very possessive.
But it's more about her being devious in order to get the end, which is love. She
says in one of the first couple of episodes, she uses, I believe, the phrase, or one very similar to it, of like, obstacle is for killing. She will definitely, if she sees something standing in her way, she'll do something about it.
And unless people count Kodachi, which I guess you could, this really is the first of Ranma's actual fiancés, I guess you could say.
Right.
As we start to build the Ranma harem.
Kodachi is his fiance in her own special world.
Only in her mind, but I count her just because it's funny too.
Yeah, I will say the shampoo is probably the first one that you could theoretically see Ranma potentially with at the end of the series.
Yeah.
Depending on how much drugs Kodachi will.
Yeah.
But and you do get, and Kodachi does come back later with the whole picture and blackmail thing. But with Shampoo, you get the thing where she goes against Akane because Akane decides to accept her a kiss of death. But instead of killing her, she decides to take mercy on her and use the shampoo, which just erases, which is kind of funny that she uses a shampoo. But
110 shampoo.
Shampoo used the shampoo.
Well, she uses the shampoo shiatsu technique. That's like this weird combination of different factors that it's basically she gives Akane a spa treatment at lightning speed.
Yeah, and she erases a Ranma from her memory. Nothing else, but just Ranma.
And I do find it funny how they keep the thing where they keep like, so she keeps saying these like different things like, no, that's ramen. No, that's Ron. No, that's
that's Captain.
They do change it. They do change them up in the sub versus dub. I did notice that.
Yeah.
Do they?
Well, you have to because it's wordplay.
Yeah, the wordplay change it name.
But it's a hint that it's like an indication that Shampoo did not do the technique perfectly because there's still something lurking there. And then one of the biggest hints you see of that is when they get back to Tendo Dojo and they're reunited with Shampoo, as she gets all lovey-dovey with Ranma, and Akane goes and just does like a pile drive on him out of sheer, just smacks the hell out of him. And then she's like, why did I do that? And then her family just looks at each other like, it must be a conditioned reflex.
But Ranma even decides to even try and save her. He will go back to China and himself and do it. But then Shampoo offers him an exchange. Like, I'll give you this. And he's like, but you have to do something for me. Okay, well, I can't marry you or kill Akane. He's like, well, kill female Ranma. He's like, well, what about half kill? And that's like one of the few times like Ryoga's like, no. It's like, I'm not going to fight you.
This is again one of those things where like Shampoo doesn't learn right away.
Yes.
Partly because Ranma tries very hard not to let his female form show up in front of her because he doesn't want to die. And like I said, there's even a part where Nabiki gets in on it, and she's like, okay, well, I'll charge you this much to turn you back. And then he's like, come on. Are you kidding me or whatever? And then a couple minutes later, she's like, okay, I'll do it. But with tax, and she said something that was almost 3 times as much. Like, and she does turn him back, but then I think Ryoga turns him back into a girl almost immediately.
It's Ryoga back in some ways as it goes, but the time where Ryoga's like, I'm not going to talk about like what she did to Akane. Which he didn't see anything in the first place, but he's like, hey girls, you want to see something interesting? But I think it's like funny that he was like, I'm going to hold out my 0 information as I just saw the back of Shampoo's foot hit me in the face.
Right.
Actually, I think it was Shampoo trying to cook up and feed Ranma Ryoga.
Well, that happened afterwards. That was
with her in the first place. But
she found the pig and she was like, "Oh, well, wouldn't this be lovely?" And
See, Sarah raw pig, you're gonna get trichinosis.
Yeah. Well, on the other hand, as you get into the series, you learn that shampoo can prepare food.
Oh yes.
That's one of the big differences. You got Ukyo, who's a master chef. Shampoo is quite domestic. Akane will kill you by accident. Kodachi will kill you on purpose.
Of course, the whole curse, instead of using the shampoo, eventually Akane basically breaks herself out of it. And this leads to Shampoo saying, well, I'm just going to have to kill you. But Ranma then kind of reveals what happened in front of Shampoo and just says, yeah, I was the female all along. I was just cross-dressing.
Right.
And it's kind of a sad moment because you could see Shampoo struggling with it and then realizing I can't go through with it because I am in love with the male Ranma.
It messes with her. It really does.
Now,
I think that was why we mentioned earlier she goes back home to China to retrain herself.
yes.
I think she kind of loses all her confidence at that moment, and she goes back home and I honestly can't remember, and it's not important for this season whether she picks up the curse, how she comes to get that particular curse, because it ends up being such a useful one for Ranma.
It was all
they don't know it though. They don't. That's the thing. They don't know it. So
she was being trained. I don't know why they all have to go to the cursed training ground to train, but they decided that apparently
plot. That's why plot.
Especially, you would think that Shampoo and Moose would probably know better, but
well, no. You got to be fair on Moose. Moose did not know better to see in front of him.
That's true. That's true.
So the last episode is a definite filler episode, which is I'm a Man, Ranma going back to China, which is the last episode of the season, technically. And it's essentially
it's a clip show. Yeah. It's the clip episode. I don't declare this so much the filler as more as just a clip show.
It is. There is some original animation, but it's basically a bickering fight between Ranma and Genma. Yeah. But like I said, it gave me a good opportunity to watch one episode to hear most of the vocal dubs. So it was useful for that.
Does anybody have anything special to say about the slideshow episode?
I skipped it for a purpose because I've seen this way too many damn times.
I kind of skipped all of the slideshow part, but I just watched the original animation pieces.
Not really, because the slideshow is just pretty much like a greatest hits of, like, you know, everything that's already happened, you know.
So I know that I had talked about this with some. There are a couple now. So one of the weird things that they did, and I don't know what I guess maybe they did really want to have it in this order originally, and just as it says, you know, they couldn't do it. So now when they had the opportunity to rearrange the episodes, they were finally able to put them in the order they wanted, which still doesn't quite add up to me, because yes, you have the 3 episodes with the golden pair. Then they added Clash of the Delivery Girls, and you really do hate cats, which puts it like at the beginning of the next Shampoo arc for the second season. Now, I'm probably not I'm not going to really try and force those two to cover, but I think I will talk about the golden pair, because they went to such a length to not only do that, but insert a scene into the next arc, flashing back to that episode.
All right, I want to make a note here with Golden Pair. This is a special note that most people wouldn't know unless you had followed this series from the get-go. I'm going to bring us back to the year of 1996. Back then, there was a little online poll and sort of petition with Ranma 1/2 and the Golden Pair to do it in live action. with Michelle Kwan as Akane. I don't know who was stupid enough to think you could perform martial arts combat on skates, but hey.
So, and that one definitely involves Pichan in that where and they insert that action when they insert it into the order, and you get the same episodes in Hulu. Pretty much most of the streaming options for the series now have it in that order. The Blu-ray sets and the new DVD sets have it in that order. It's just like the cassettes and the original DVD releases that don't have it in that order. And where they go from they go in the manga order where they stick it in between Kodachi and the shampoo story, which it makes sense because again that's how it was originally in the manga.
Yep.
But essentially, Pichan is picked up by this
Azusa!
who names Pichan Charlotte and decides to take Charlotte home. Meanwhile, Ranma and Akane are kind of are at the skating rink, and we find out that Ranma, of course, Ranma cannot skate, but Akane loves to skate. Which you think is weird, but I think it's kind of weird because Akane is usually not graceful at all in most ways, but she can skate. But
we learned two weaknesses in this story arc. One with Ranma and one with Akane. We learn Ranma can't skate, and we later learn Akane can't swim.
Yes, we learned that at the end of the storyline, but definitely yes. So you end up with, and of course, Ranma overcomes that weakness by the end of this.
Oh, he overcomes it after a certain instant, in the middle of this story.
But essentially, they end up meeting this golden pair, which wouldn't have caused any issue at the beginning, except Azusa has captured Pichan and claimed him for her own. Because she sees something she thinks is cute, so she names it and then takes it home with her.
Exactly.
And then you got Mikado, I think that's right.
Mikado Sanzanin, yes.
Who is the womanizer of the group. Which of course you've got Ranma trying to learn how to skate and can't do it. And during these interactions, Ranma loses control. I do find it funny, like Ranma decides to turn to a girl because he thinks, of course, again, it goes back to that Ranma thinks it would look
too embarrassing as a guy.
As a man, it's like, you look embarrassing as a girl, too. And ends up, basically falling into Mikado's arms. Where Mikado gives Ranma his first kiss, which is with a guy.
I will say the sub does not bring up the first kiss part, which is weird because it is in the manga, it is in the dub that it's his first kiss.
This makes Ranma slightly miffed, definitely upset.
I wonder why.
Crying, and then ends up coming back on the ice as a guy and challenges. And they'd already witnessed the pair take on like 100 skaters at once. And he ends up challenging Mikado. And I do find it interesting how, if you look at the first fight, it looks like Mikado has him because Ranma is not graceful at all on the ice because he still can't skate. He's just so mad that he's kind of breaking into the ice. And he's like, well, that was easily one-sided. And then Ranma gets up. I don't know about that. You see that he is like fainted. And then they just all start drawing because he's been taking my girlfriend.
Ranma basically kicked him 531 times, I think.
Yeah. And this, of course, ends up being to a longer range challenge where they have the Charlotte Cup, where Akane and Ranma fight off against the golden pair to win Peachan back, or Charlotte, depending on who would win.
I'm sure
Charlotte
Ranma would
Ryoga.
love.
I love that you had at one point you do have him go. They go through the namesakes of Ryoga in that one, where it's like, oh, Charlotte, Peachan, Ryoga.
Now, in this series, there are actually 2 points where you see them kind of, and Noriko Takahashi loves this with her romantic comedies. She loves the 2 steps forward, 1 step back approach.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like you see that Dr. Tofu story where where Tofu puts his legs out and Akane ends up carrying the piggyback to show that yes, she's still a sweethearted girl at heart. And then in this one there's 2 major things. One of them is where she's like, yeah, well, I wouldn't easily be kissed like that. And so I was like, okay. And then it's like uses an opening to basically put her into that position. And they come close to kissing, but the family gets in the way at that point, as they like to do. But then there's also the line that it doesn't seem to resonate with her early on, but resonates with her later, which is where Ranma actually does say, Akane is my fiance. And at first it doesn't seem like it resonates that much, but it resonates definitely deeply with her.
And it goes great with Takahashi's creating a character because the dude he's kissed almost 1,000 girls.
Yes,
he literally just stole the lips. Literally just comes up and kisses some girl. That, I mean, today wouldn't go right today, but I mean, even then you got to think, good Lord, somebody like that,
right?
What an asshole.
Yeah, right. Definitely.
I mean, Ryoga also likes to it took a turn to, of course, drive the knife deeper into the wound.
Yeah.
Which, of course, Ranma also then points out edges him by calling him Charlotte.
I was going to say, there was no way he could pass that up on at least one, probably multiple occasions.
But when they fight, the goodbye whirl is an interesting technique because they do it twice.
Yeah.
This time you actually have a very touching scene. Again, this is a very important one in their relationship because it does bring them closer. And where Ranma actually takes the full force of the hit for Akane. And she definitely that definitely breaks through her hatred of him. Her love-hate, basically, on the hate end to him to see a more of a tender side there. And then Ryoga, being the imbecile he is, his plan to basically kick Ranma out and replace Ranma on the ice ends up kicking Akane out and replacing with a pretty well broken Ranma on the ice.
Oh, which brings to my favorite gag is the damn freaking bringing the damn club in to change the outfits because the audience is complaining about the outfits not being cute enough.
And then, of course, they do the goodbye whirl on them, and that doesn't work out nearly as well.
No, that ends real fast.
But that's okay, because in the other one, they hold on so well that Azusa gets dizzy and they end up falling apart. But in this one, Ryoga basically punches Ranma off of him. Then Mikado just leaves the goodbye whirl and drops both Ryoga and Azusa to catch Ranma.
But then we get Azusa discovering Ryoga with the collar she's attached to Peachan being on Ryoga's neck.
I'm trying to figure out how Mikado was taken out on that one.
That basically Ranma beats the shit out of him at that point. Oh no! He gets beaten up by Ranma. He gets put into no, it is Azusa that beats the shit out of him. Azusa hits him with the hammer, and then she keeps attacking him because she keeps finding new things to claim as he's being taken off the edge.
Yeah, I like it. It's like she tries to take the blanket from him. My blanket.
Right.
I'm freezing.
But of course, the fight is Ryoga, but they end up over a swimming pool. Colin trying to get him to stop, and that's when they realize they can't swim. Both dive in after her, and Ryoga realizing, wait, this was not a good idea.
Well, I mean, you get a great line from Ranma, which is, "Oh, I'm a girl already. It's your problem now."
But he ends up throwing him a bone by giving Ryoga some credit for coming in after him.
Yeah.
That one actually does have some importance, I think, when it comes to the relationship. As you said, it shows one of Akane's weaknesses that comes over and over again. But I'll say
I
this,
mean,
the fight in the manga was much more epic because they extend it beyond, because it ends up being a Ranma versus Ryoga fight, and they show that the ice rink that they're skating on is over real water, which kind of made a little bit in this one, but not nearly as much as in the manga.
I mean, this is probably where the manga really solidified itself as a series, was the Golden Pair story. That it really is like, no, this is what the series is like. It's going to be this insane throughout the whole thing. And so, yeah, it's sort of it's kind of nice to bring it into the first season, but at the same time, yeah, it is technically second season.
Yeah, and it's kind of a weird thing. I don't know what they did with the rest of it. I swear I've watched it, but I didn't pay attention to the air order as much as others here have. Though I did remember the Golden Pair was solidly in season 2, because I remember missing them in season 1, going, wait, they should be here. They're not here.
Yeah, and they do show them in the opening credit sequence as well.
Well, they show Grandma. They show Great Grandma.
I think that they intended, as I said, I think they intended on doing it, which is why I think they restored it this way.
Could be.
But
and then you get a filler episode, which kind of is redundant with 2 other story arcs later in the series. One with Shampoo and one with Ukiyo.
But we'll cover that next time with season 2.
Yeah. One day we'll get to season 2, and that'll be fun. Be nice if we eventually get to all of them, but
Anybody else want to talk about the Golden Pair?
Honestly, I didn't get to watch them this time, so I don't have anything fresh to say on that.
I think, Dave, did you watch the Golden Pair arc?
I did.
What did you think of it?
It was comical to a point. I mean, although the male character ended up getting a little, I don't know, rapey.
You do get to see the Golden Pair return again in the movie. I think it's
briefly.
I remember them coming in. I do think it's funny. Not only does it show them when they start joining the chase, but when you see like the violent thing coming in and taking out all the people behind them, you see it was like, oh, it's so cute. It's like,
sounds like they're kind of a mascot of the series.
Well, they haven't appeared any more than those 2 that I can recall.
Azusa, I think, makes another appearance once or twice as filler episodes. But Mikado does not return, and that's probably a good thing because he's rapey.
Paul, did you have anything else to say about the Golden Pair?
Yeah, I was saying Medusa just showed up in like the end of season 5. So she does show up again. I think that was the 3rd time she showed up. But yeah, the pair was comical. It wasn't the best storyline, but it was comical. I think the best part of the storyline was him announcing that Akane is his fiance in front of anyone, and like her shock, and she's like, "You just said that in front of anyone." She wasn't sure how she felt about it. Like she was, you could see the struggle on her face, kind of like she was happy and like shocked and everything all at once. Because they were still trying to figure out their feelings. I mean, even at this point, even where I've watched, they still haven't really admitted anything to each other, but you know how they feel.
And it does call when she's beating up the Ranma like training dummy in the shampoo arc, and she's thinking back to it, and then she ends up hugging the doll, which again, they insert that into the thing, which I don't know what they showed in the original to get her to suddenly hug it.
I think they just cut it out. Probably they probably added it in for the Blu-ray.
Yeah, it wasn't in that. It wasn't on Hulu.
But that's of course, and that's how the manga goes. So hey,
yeah. Right.
Well, animation. Let's hit that.
It's pretty basic on this one. The early work is not that great. It gets better the next season. It's kind of rough, but I mean, you're talking 1980s animation, which we'll be addressing as well next month.
I felt like there was definitely an uptick just from the opening credit sequence to the actual content of the episodes. I feel like there was by the end of the season, you could tell there was definitely an uptick there. But the opening credits are very basic for this one, very, very basic. But yeah, I would say from the shows I've seen from this time period, it doesn't look bad. You know,
no, I mean, a lot of people want to poo-poo the animation of the 80s. A lot of anime in the 80s is actually really well done.
I love the 80s
despite the budgets. So
yeah.
Now, my opinion on the animation is it feels a lot like an American cartoon. It's closer to an American cartoon than other stuff are, which I really like. I really like it, and I love the 80s cartoons and 90s cartoons. So it really appeals to me, and I like it way better than other stuff I've seen. And I think that was why it was so easy for me to watch, because there was just no crazy fucking art or whatever. It was just some simple, animation that felt like a cartoon.
And Takahashi has a very distinct art style. I've not really read much Ranma, but again, I read all of Ikoku. I mean, I read all of Ikoku, and I read One Pound.
Her style does change in the later years.
It does change, but it still has that feel to it. Like, even her newer stuff like Renee, I can look at Renee and go, that does look like Takahashi, but it doesn't quite look. It does look different, but it's similar. Like, and I do feel like she is distinct from the random run-of-the-mill anime that you see overall.
And you got to give it credit. I mean, this is a woman. You're talking a person who went into the industry which was dominated by males, and this is an artist who basically, I did a report on her basically because of this. She is known as the queen of comics for a reason.
Yeah,
she is the pinnacle artist creator that started in the 70s and made her name for herself internationally. And
she is an Eisner winner, isn't she?
What?
She is an Eisner winner, isn't she?
Yes, she is an Eisner winner at this point. Yes.
Yeah. Isn't she one of the few mangaka that is?
Yes.
Actually, so Dave, you several of us have already seen multiple Rumiko Takahashi properties, but you also have seen multiple properties because you saw Mermaid's Scar, Mermaid's Forrest.
Yeah.
So did you notice any similarities between the two?
It's been a while since I've seen those, but I look at the mermaid stuff as like separate entities.
They are that.
They are separate, yes.
In fact, I believe they're different than the Ranma style.
Well, I mean, it's her doing horror over her doing comedy. So yeah.
So
there's definitely more shadow and gore.
Yeah. Mermaid Forest is definitely one of the ones that I do not have.
I definitely like. I definitely like this series. I'd like to see where it actually goes. As far
Episodic, pretty much after.
Yeah, I mean, some of the better characters do get introduced as time goes on. You've got some.
Ukyo.
I mean, Ukyo, Moose, Haposai.
Yes. Apple Pie is
The
a
best character
character.
comes in at the end of season 1.
alone, my favorite episode is Cat Food.
Yeah, Shampoo is my favorite character.
And that's a good one to start off a second season discussion for because it's attached to a full-on arc with Shampoo's grandmother. With Shampoo.
Shampoo's grandmother is really cool too.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool in that way.
Alone.
But I like the animation style of this. Yes, it's not like as advanced as some that you see.
Like I said, it gets polished each season.
And it gets across what it needs to get across. I mean, I really did enjoy watching the fight scenes and the things in the series. I really like the opener, which is
so Brandon, you can comment at least better than I can, and I don't know what the streaming sites used as a base. But how well do you feel they cleaned it up for Blu-ray?
I think they did a pretty good job with it. Tell you the truth.
Actually, I do have something to say about quality with the streaming site. The stream I listened to, and it's not the animation that was an issue, it was the audio that was an issue. You would hear the conversation be talked about in a small whisper, then they'd say the line, you'd hear the line out loud, larger, in common sense, and then you'd hear a slight repeat afterwards. So you're getting 3 echoes, but you're getting an early echo, the proper language, and then a final echo. And it was really weird. It was throughout the whole season. I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
That's really weird.
So I didn't have that issue at all. So.
I think it was just the streaming. It was a streaming setup.
Now, I'd like to say about Hulu, there was nothing wrong. Audio, video, everything.
Well, you watched the dub, didn't you? You watched the dub.
I watched the dub. And
other than Brittany is Jacob.
It was definitely great.
Yeah. And you watched that off of the original DVD, so.
I watched the series in Japanese. Because it's in Japanese on Tubi.
So was so did you have the weird repeating language issue with your watch through, Dave?
No. I didn't have any of that.
So there you go.
All right. And since we're talking about the audio, this is something where I definitely have to comment. And I know Brandon's more familiar with the dub vocals, but Ranma is voiced by Kappe Yamaguchi and Megumi Hayashibara, who are both very, very big names in anime. And this is one of my favorite roles for Hayashibara. We've done a few of hers already. We did Cowboy Bebop, where she played Faye Valentine. We've done a few others. And you got Noriko Hidaka as Akane Tendo, Hiromi Tsuru as Ukyo, But again, last month we saw Minami Takayama in that one role in Escaflowne. So here she's back as Nabiki. So we got some fun ones. And I mentioned before Kikuko Inoue as Kasumi Tendo. She is, kind of, if you watch anything in the 90s, you'll probably come across her name.
I can say for the dub, we have Miriam Sirwise as Akane, most known for being Jubilee in the 90s X-Men series.
Oh, no kidding. I loved Jubilee.
And then you had Venus. I forgot her last name again, but we talked about her last month.
Venus
Torgo, and she is played multiple roles throughout television film.
She had an appearance on 21 Jump Street back in the day.
And she's female Ranma. This is the Ocean dub cast. Ocean pretty much was founded off of Ranma 1/2.
I was going to say they switched.
Did Ranma have different voices throughout the series?
I think what was it, second season or third? They switched out the female version.
They switched out female. They switched out in the second season,
And then,
Bridget
they
Vidal.
switched out the male in the fourth season.
oh, yeah,
Yeah, I noticed the difference.
According to ANN, you got Brigitte Dow in episodes 1 through 6, and then Venus Terzo from there on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll admit, the switch out for the Ranma voice was the one that hit me more.
Yeah,
it's
I
because
didn't
was so
notice the
used to
female
Ranma.
voice change.
I
Really.
was so used to Ranma's voice being that for so long.
Yeah.
Well, for the longest time, it was. I think it was Sarah Strange, wasn't it, for male Rama?
Yeah.
For the longest time, and then it became
It's
Richard
a
Cox.
deep voice for Rama too.
I am glad that they did not change out the other voice cast. I did think that they were pretty well. I mean, I really do think that the dub for Ranma was really good for the most part.
Yeah.
And I'll admit, I mean, I've seen the entire series in the Japanese, but because I guess I think it's more of a, when it was the first anime I really watched that I knew was an anime, and I was so used to the English voices by then that to me they don't fit the characters for me. The Japanese voices didn't fit the characters the way that the ones I was used to all those years fit the characters.
Mm-hmm.
The one that bothered me the most was Moose, because the English dub take and the Japanese dub take on Moose are so widely different that if you get used to one and like one, it's harder to get used to and like the other.
Yeah, Moose is definitely not a favorite character at all. I mean, I don't hate him, but he's kind of there.
That's Brandon's favorite, man. You guys can fight over.
Well,
right.
I mean, sorry, but that's just my opinion on it.
Yeah, everybody has a favorite character that they like.
I'm not really that big of a fan, but yeah, I love Shampoo. And Kadachi is definitely, I wouldn't say a favorite, but
that's one I would
really like her.
That's one where
Before we go into favorites, let's do because I know we're going to be doing wind down here. Why don't we do favorite character, and why not do something like, what is your anything goes martial arts that you would do?
Oh, and music. We didn't really hit the music, so to speak. I do.
Okay.
The music
season,
we've got in this season. In this season, we've got. Let's see here. The opening theme is Jaja Uma ni Sasanaide by Etsuko Nishio. And we have two enders, Platonic Serenity by Kari Sakagami through episode 13, and then Equal Romance by Coco in episodes 14 through 18. And I will admit, neither of those enders was my favorite, but they really grow on you, and I like them a lot. The opener is catchy as hell.
And the opener is not my favorite, but it sticks with me more than almost any openers, because it's just so. It's just so. It's sort of like the first Yatsura opener. I don't consider it my favorite by far, but I remember it better than any of the rest.
Also, because they used the theme repeatedly in the episodes, there are a lot of musical cues that draw from that theme song.
And they actually have some pretty good music that they play throughout. It is one of the few shows that do have a soundtrack that includes all the background music.
Yeah, like I said, some of the themes are all over the place as the series goes on. Some of them are nice, some of them are great. Hinangeshi is far and away my favorite, but my actual favorite Ranma theme is from the OVA. It's the Boku the Us From Now On. I can't remember the full title right now, but it's that's a really awesome one when you get to it. But the music in this season, I think it's solid, it's catchy, and it does grow on you. When you do repeat viewings, it's got a nice nostalgic feel to it, I think.
So, and of course, if we're going overall, my favorite theme in Ranma overall would be from the first movie. It's Love is probably one of my favorites songs out there. That it was for the longest time one of my favorite songs. So, but I guess that we will now go to favorite scenes, unless anybody else has anything else to say about the music.
Nope, nothing jumped out.
So let's see. So you wanted, so Brittany, you were talking about favorite scene, and then the idea of
favorite scene, favorite character, and then what would your anything goes martial arts be?
And let's stick to season 1, though you can add the golden pair if you wish.
Well, that's not fair because my favorite isn't in season 1.
I got your favorite from the first season. But so why don't we start with you, Jake? Favorite scene, favorite character, and what would be your anything goes martial art?
Well, my favorite scene, favorite moment in season 1. There's a lot of good ones, but probably my favorite single moment is when Ranma announces that her name is Ranma Saotome, and Tadawaki Kuno gets out the calligraphy set and says, "I must write this down lest I forget it." I just thought that was hilarious. And like I said, there were a lot of other really good moments, but that was like my favorite one. Character, I think at this point in the series, when I was watching it through initially, my favorite character would have probably been either Nabiki or Shampoo, probably a tie. But having watched the whole series and knowing more about the characters, I've already said Ukyo is my favorite. But I think
She's not in season 1, though.
overall, Rama may be one of my favorites. It would be between Rama, Shampoo, and Ryoga of the characters in the first season. But I'm not 100% sure who the very best is. And no, Ron, not to burst your bubble, Kadachi's an evil psycho bitch, and she is not my favorite.
She is an evil psycho bitch, but I still love her.
And what's your martial arts, Jacob?
Well, are we limited to season 1 for martial arts?
No. Anything that you would be your anything go martial art.
If I were to do anything goes martial arts, I'd have to do something botanical. I mean, that's a given. Probably something that incorporates some of that energy drink I created in that one game.
So anything goes botany?
Probably.
Okay.
So anything goes herbalism, martial arts. There you go.
All right. Well, what about you, Dave? What's your favorite scene, favorite character, and if you could create your own anything goes martial art, what would it be?
I've been trying to think about my favorite character because I do like Ranma a lot. But I do like Tofu's mother a lot. So I guess it's a toss up between those two. Because Economy was just annoying. Not even a cute annoying, just annoying. So,
I disagree. How dare you?
You take off because of it.
But I don't know. I suppose that she might grow on me as the series progresses. But my favorite scene is the whole scene where we learn that Ranma is scared of cats, and
well, that's season 2.
Well, I'll let it count because it was one.
Oh, okay.
It was in.
But yeah, that was great.
Yes.
It was.
He hasn't gone to season 2.
Now, if you said your favorite character and that was Sasuke, I would be like, ugh. Sasuke, I would be like, ugh.
Suzuki, the non-canon character.
Yes.
The character just, definitely does not exist in the manga, which, Oh, so Dave, if there was any, so what would be your anything goes martial art?
Virtual Boy martial art.
Anything goes Virtual Boy.
Good times.
So, Kroll, favorite scene, favorite character, and what would be your anything goes martial art?
Well, in this season, I have to go with Kadachi. Shampoo is a close second, and she becomes my favorite. But Kadachi's laugh and how crazy she is, and especially the laugh, I just love that laugh. It's so great. It's such an evil laugh. It's such a sinister laugh, and it's such a this bitch is shit crazy. It's a bad shit crazy laugh, and
Then
I
you
love it.
love Naga from the Slayers because she has that laugh too.
Yeah, and I love
Yep.
it. I love the laugh, and I love how she's nuts, and she just falls for uh him and for Ranma, and yeah, she's just great. I mean, I love Shampoo too, but you don't get to see as much from Shampoo the first season as you do later on. So for first season, I have to go with her. Favorite scene is probably the fight between her and female Ranma. Like specifically when she used her brother to cover the desk, 'cause
That was one of those great moments.
that was hilarious and funny and crazy and everything. Something only a crazy chick would think to do. Yeah, the weapons, okay, yeah, I can see that, but the throwing her brother, yeah, that was definitely super crazy and fun. So I have to go with that. And as far as martial arts goes, I'll go with video game martial arts.
Okay. One follow up on her using her brother. One of my favorite parts about that is that one, he is not at all surprised, and two, he does not try to resist. He just goes with it.
Yep.
Well, Brittany, what would be yours?
Well, let's see. Favorite scene, I'm going to start with that. My favorite scene is definitely the moment we kind of touched upon, the goodbye world, seeing Ranma and Akane sort of really touch it off there. It's between that moment and then earlier in the same part where he throws the fish cake at Sazanine to officially defend Akane's honor. It's where we kind of see the love build up there. Favorite character, I'm kind of torn. I love Ranma's curse. I'd love to have Ranma's curse, but I don't. I'm a fan of Rio. I don't have to say Ryoga. It's more. I have a soft spot for him as he goes later in the show and in the series. So I'd have to go with Ryoga. Anything goes martial arts. I don't know why Takahashi didn't do it, but anything goes manga.
There you go.
Right.
Actually, there was a web comic, and I cannot think of the name of it, that used the one half thing. And I know, Brittany, you were the one who showed it to me, but I cannot remember what it was anymore. I can kind of vaguely draw a picture. There were so many web
there was one that I got my namesake from that did the Rama joke. And yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about, but they've since deleted that comic all the way through.
Yeah, that comic I think disappeared, but I cannot remember. I know the main character protagonist was a female, and and I remember the art style, but I cannot remember the name of it for the like of me. The time of the webcomic has come and gone.
Yes and no. Depends.
There's still some that hang around, but they're not as big as they used to be. They used to be everywhere.
Everywhere.
But they still have some of the big ones. Mega Tokyo, Sluggy Freelance, those are still running.
Yeah.
But as far as my favorite scene from what I guess they wanted season 1 to be, I would say the scene where Ranma is showing Akane how easy it would be to take it off of her feet to be kissed. I actually, as much as I dislike Akane, she is one of my least favorite characters in anime. I do like those scenes where they do show steps closer. There is something about them that does make you root for them as a couple, especially as you watch towards the end of the series. You're really rooting for them as a couple.
Especially in a sense, they are well matched. They really are. It's not like it could have been a much worse pairing.
My favorite character in season 1 will be Kuno, the male Kuno. The female Kuno irritates me.
No, she's great.
Hey, at least no one said Azusa, because I've dealt with actual real life Azusas in my life.
Oh, she's fucking nuts in a different way.
Yeah.
In like in the Looney Tunes way, you know, that girl that's always
Elmira.
Yeah.
I'll take you home and hug you and squeeze you forever.
Yeah. Yeah, that's her. That's her.
My martial art would probably be the physical media fu, which throwing discs. What was it? Cover cutter. Things like that. Yeah. So. But with that being said, of course, we've reached the end of our discussion. Before we get into the outros, next month we're going to be going way back into the past. And,
not really. We're kind of covering about the same time.
And hitting Voltron. I guess the U.S. Release of Voltron. We haven't quite figured out what episodes to cover yet, but
I thought we were going to agree on doing on half of them because 1 through 26.
Doing 50 some is going to be a challenge.
Yeah, so probably we'll do
not that many.
And then we'll move on. That's going to be a hard one, but I look forward to Ron leading us in a discussion on that later. But why don't we start with you and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, I said that. Well, I'm Kroll, aka Ron. I enjoy watching movies and TV shows and video games. Just recently got into anime. More for this podcast, I decided they mentioned one that sounded interesting, so decided I'd check it out. And a friend of mine had been trying to get me into anime for a long time, and I was always like, I hate it. I just want American cartoons, and that was it. But I decided to branch out and try it, and I've liked most of the ones I've seen. This one's probably my favorite. I don't know. This and Slayers both have a special place in my heart, and of course, Full Metal Alchemist will always have a place in my heart. But that's a different show. And I come on the podcast, this one, and of course, our Monday nights podcast and Sunday day podcast. And I will be acting, in my first anthology soon next year. So look forward to that. That'll be something fun I've always wanted to do. So it's great to be able to do that.
All right. Jake, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Of course, most people who are watching this channel should know who you are by now, but
yes, you should know.
No, me too. I pop up everywhere.
I am Todabuki Jake. I am the co-host on this channel. So as he mentioned, our regular viewers should recognize me. But when we're not discussing physical media, and in fact, you should definitely give a look to this week and last week's pickup videos where we basically covered our Christmas hauls, and there's some fun stuff in there to be had, no doubt. I am generally pretty busy. I've got a full-time gig, but I also am the co-founder of RVA Homegrown Natives that sells native plants to people here in Central Virginia. And we also seek to educate and inform and just generally be a positive force for the RVA environment. And then I try to get a lot of viewing in when and where I can. Have been sadly limited lately, especially with my computer going kaput. So I'm on the phone again tonight. I hope that I sounded all right for you folks. And that also explains why I have a Black Christmas icon up, because I apparently can't change the icon on my phone.
That will be fun for all time.
But
I
at
can
any
change
rate,
mine.
I like to join these fine folks, both for these anime discussions, but also the ones on Movies Galore. And definitely glad, and everyone that joined us tonight. This really is a sentimental favorite, I think, for most of the people here. So this was a discussion a long time coming. So I'm glad we got a chance to at least do one season on this show.
All right. Let's see here. Who do we have? Dave. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Alrighty here. My name is David Strege. I'm one of the founding fathers of Inside Movies Galore. So it's been a pleasure to come on to your anime discussion, because I haven't been part of it for a couple of weeks or months.
You'll definitely have to join us for Voltron. I know you've seen that.
I did pick up the series. I never saw any of the Voltron episodes, but I was a huge fan of Transformers Armada, and
What? Am I going to be the only one that's gone in with actually owning the Lions?
It's unfortunate. I heard about the Voltron series like much later.
Oh, I loved it as a kid. I loved the Lions. It was the cars
I
that
saw
I
it as a kid myself. So.
For the longest time, I wanted the fucking tins, and those were expensive as all hell.
Well, I got them all. They're all on my
Rich boy.
to acquire them.
Have they gotten expensive now?
Oh yeah. Yeah, the Lions are expensive these days. The original 10 Lions are very expensive.
So I finally picked it up several weeks back, so that I can watch it or whatnot. So
we'll have the first 26 episodes. This is gonna be fun. But yeah, I look forward to seeing. Of course, yeah. Don't forget to check out Dave's Delusions of Grandeur and Inside Movies Galore. We had a beautiful 5th anniversary for Inside Movies Galore. So y'all should just start at the beginning of January of last year for our channel, and just keep watching it through to the end, because each and every member of that group got their own month. So we even turned Halloween into Rocky month.
Damn you, Dane.
Which I personally hope we don't do again on Halloween.
Says the guy who picked a boxing movie on his other channel.
Huh?
So
I'm going to throw you under the bus for that.
So Brittany, tell us a little bit about what you've got going.
Well, not much has been going on. I do have a couple things that is going to be coming down the line, hopefully soon. I cannot release actual dates yet, but we are putting together a couple of new things coming out in the early of 2023. With Embry Arts, we're going to be trying to release at least one novel out this coming year. And we're also going to be back on streaming, hopefully fairly soon, with a couple of new things involved in the series. We're definitely going to do some quick reviews of some others of not only anime, but we're going to do some rare, really difficult to find manga reviews that are getting into the weird things. And if you have a weird manga title that you know of, send it my way. I'd love to read it. So yeah, we're going to be coming out with a lot of new stuff in 2023. I just can't give a date at this time.
Yep, and actually, are they still selling the Demon Blade books?
Yeah, Demon Blade books are out there. In fact, if you want at this time, I believe if you are a Prime member, you can get the print copy for $6, and you can get the digital copies for free. So,
oh yeah, I've got one of those myself sitting in here on the shelf. So with that being said, thank you all for coming in. I look forward to coming back to the series. We will have to revisit it in the future, most definitely. But we have so much to cover and so little time. So we will see you next
Right.
at the end of January when we discuss Voltron.
Form, arms, and legs.